Don't think.
I was thinking before we got here. I was trying to place when I first met you. I didn't know if we had. I think it was conditioning class.
It was
I want to say it was conditioning class.
I think it was basketball for sure.
Right,
For sure.
absolutely. I don't know if it's the sophomore or junior year.
It was because I think you have a grade on me.
Yeah.
Or two.
I
What
think
year you graduated?
A grade 09.
9. Yep. So you got a grade on me.
Yeah. So I want to say it had to been the sophomore year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were a junior. I was a sophomore.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was basketball. Man. We used to have some battles when we weren't on the team.
my
I'd be like,
goodness.
dang it, Brandon.
Can I change your mind? Can I change your mind?
Yo, what's up, world? Welcome to another episode of Garage Talks 5417 podcast. I'm your host, Desmond Reynolds, aka The Peacekeeper. And as you know, we have another great guest today. So let me just hurry and introduce this young gentleman because it's going to be a great episode for this December. From Alabama originally, and loves to blend his Southern roots with all things in the Pacific Northwest. He has been a credentialed minister for the past 14 years and has served in a variety of roles, including assistant pastor, youth director, and currently travels internationally as an evangelist. He's a multi-business owner with his wife of 5 years. They enjoy calling the Southern Willamette Valley home. And you'll often find him on a local river during salmon and steelhead season with a pole or a camera in his hand. He's passionate about his ministry and spreading the gospel of Christ, and especially helping men fulfill their God-given purpose. Oh, I love that. Brandon is a content creator. You can find him on his TikTok, IG, and YouTube channels, where he posts everything fishing, hunting in the Pacific Northwest, ministry, and men's self-improvement. You guys, I have Brandon Maddox on the set. Good to have you, sir.
It's an honor.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to see you.
Thank y'all for having me.
Absolutely. You know, I think I approached you back in the summer.
Yeah. We had a couple conversations about it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Brought me some of that delicious salmon you caught.
Absolutely.
Fresh out the river.
Yep. Absolutely. None of that farm stuff you get in the store.
Exactly. I don't think I've ate any of that kind of fish since you've been bringing me some.
Good. Stay away from it. It's not.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have the same nutrient content. And You don't get all the same stuff that you get from a wild caught fish. So.
Got it. Nothing like the natural.
Oh, absolutely.
Organic, man.
Yep. Absolutely.
Brandon, how's life been? You recently got back from a speaking conference. I heard you were saying you were out in Utah, was it, or something?
I've been in Utah a couple of times. I've been out there traveling and preaching. Recently, everything has been local. I've been doing a lot of traveling locally. I think the recent one I was just at was in Medford. Got a good friend that pastors a church in Medford, and they're doing phenomenal, and had a phenomenal time. God did some tremendous things. So
there we go.
Absolutely.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. How long have you been pastoring for?
Well,
ministering for?
It's real tough to put a number to it. If I had to guess, I would probably say 16 years.
Wow.
Somewhere in the neighborhood of that, because I was ministering before. I was a credentialed, licensed minister.
Gotcha.
And so prior to that, I taught Bible studies. I would walk the streets over in downtown Springfield, and I would pray with a lot of the homeless people and I would just meet people just on the street and just have conversations and talk about God.
That's amazing.
I mean, you got to get down to where people are, get to where people are living. That's what you got to do. That makes all the difference.
That's very true. That's the biggest thing. That's That's actually one of my questions here. Do you think that's something the church is missing at times, not meeting people at their level to really try to pull them out of the rut?
In a sense, I would say in a sense, I think one of the biggest problems there could be is being able to stay relevant.
Oh,
Relevancy in the kingdom of God is very paramount.
got it.
It's hearing the voice of God, being able to hear the voice of God to connect to that person.
Absolutely.
That's what it means to be relevant. So a couple years ago, I was a cashier in Dollar Tree for a couple of years, and I remember one time I was up at the front cashiering and had this elder lady come by, very nice lady, and she had all of these baked goodies and things that she had bought, and I struck up a conversation with her, and just because she had all of these cookies and Little Debbie's and all of this stuff, and I just wanted to know what it was that she was doing, and she said, well, me and the ladies of the church, we're getting together and we're celebrating my birthday. Today is my birthday.
Oh, wow.
And she said, I'm 65 years old and I'm the youngest member in my church. And when she said that, the Lord spoke to me and he said, that's what happens when a church stops becoming relevant, is that you lose your ability to connect to the younger generation. And so all that you have is older constituents that make up the church. The church should be a conglomerate of older, younger, and middle. You should always have those three groups.
Absolutely.
And so staying relevant. And so I think relevancy is the bigger factor in all of it. Because you can talk to somebody, but if you're not connecting, then what good is the conversation?
Absolutely.
So the Bible says knowledge puffeth up, but charity edifies. So just because I have a lot of knowledge doesn't mean that I'm going to connect with you.
Absolutely.
Some of the best teachers are not the people that know the most, but the people that are able to take what they know and to connect with who it is that they're talking to.
Somebody told me we're full of knowledge nowadays with all our devices, but we're starving for wisdom.
Absolutely.
We're starving for guidance.
Absolutely.
And it's so true. We have all this power right here, but yet depression's higher. Suicides are higher.
Right.
So many things are higher.
Right.
Knowledge, wisdom is not being,
Right.
as you said, put out there.
Yeah, scripture talks about we're ever learning but never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. And so you can have all of the knowledge that you want, but all true knowledge stops and starts with Jesus. Truth is more than just what you know, it's a person.
For sure.
Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. So truth is more than just accumulated knowledge. It's a person.
Ooh, I feel that
So if
right
you don't
there.
know the person that is truth, then
That's it
Yeah.
right there. What do you think a church or churches have to do to connect with the youth again and try to get the youth more involved? Because I feel like there's movements here and there through athletes praying and things being shown on social media. But when you get back to the surface level of every day, how do we connect with the community and with kids coming to church or getting that guidance?
well, I think you have to have someone that is in that age bracket that is in tune enough. Because we all know as you grow older, you kind of phase out of certain things and you lose your sense of cultural relevancy, of understanding what's going on. And so having, that's the beauty of a youth pastor that's young enough to understand what's going on, but has enough maturity to not get sucked in it to where he loses sense of the focus of what he's trying to do.
Got you.
And so you got to have that balance that's there. So I understand what that's like because I did it for a number of years.
Yes.
And it's not an easy thing to do. I think for young people, you have to create a culture of safeness where they're able to come talk to you about stuff.
For sure.
Because if that's not there, then they'll never come talk to you.
Why do you think the church has lost young people or has lost so many people going to church? What does Brandon think that is? Because I always wondered that, like, where did it mess up? Where did it shorten? What did the people of the church get wrong?
Man, there's many ways. There's many answers to that question. That's a tough one.
Maybe a primary one, just a primary.
I'll bring it back again to relevancy. Not having a significant move of God to sustain them.
Gotcha.
So one of the things that kept me involved and kept me coming back to church was the fact that I had a what I call a God encounter that made coming to church more than just showing up on a Sunday. In other words, the God that I interact with at church, I also had an interaction with him outside of church. So that kept me wanting to come back. Okay, so this is more than just stories that are told in a book. This is more than just someone that's standing up behind a podium telling me all of this stuff. But when God actually talks to you, or when you pray and God answers those prayers, how do you quantify that?
Right,
Someone said it this way.
honestly.
Someone said it this way: a man with an experience is never at the mercy of a man with an argument.
Wow.
I have an experience. You can argue doctrine and theology with me all day, but I've got an experience.
For sure.
I've heard the voice of God. I've prayed certain prayers that were in the impossible zone that only God could answer, and God answered those prayers.
Wow.
I've seen people get healed of incurable diseases that otherwise you would have wrote them off and said, well, it's impossible. They'll never recover. But I've seen God heal them.
Absolutely.
I was in a service and I was on the platform, and we had one of our elder saints had a stroke. She was paralyzed on her left side. And while I was standing up on the platform, the Lord spoke to me and said, I want you to go pray for her now. And I felt the urgency in what God was telling me. I jumped off the platform and I ran to where she was, and I laid my hand on her and I prayed for her. At the end of that service, she walked out without a noticeable limp in her left side.
Wow. Wow.
I was in another service in Roseburg, and there was a young kid that had a hole in his heart. He was going to have to get surgery. And we were there. I didn't feel anything really significant, but I felt that I needed to pray for the young boy. So we prayed for him. And I got the call, I think it was a Thursday, the pastor called me because the mother took the boy in to go get more x-rays done and pictures taken of his heart.
Gotcha.
Come to find out, when he went in, God had did the miracle while we were in service and closed up the hole that was in his heart.
Oh, the hole closed up, gone.
Yeah.
What the doctor say?
The doctor was actually mad because he didn't get to perform the surgery.
Oh,
God did it before.
He already did it
God
already.
already did it.
Brandon, I tell you experience for me. I'll always remember I was in church, Bethel Temple Faith Ministries. I was a young man, and I was given a mint, and I had the mint during service, and I start choking on it, man. True story. My mom was there. I start choking on the mint, and kid you not, there was a nurse behind me. Just nurse by the grace of God.
Right.
Put me in that Heimlich, got
Right.
me, coughed it out.
Right.
And I was yet again young boy. I'm over here, I'm crying. I can barely look. You know when you cry so hard that you can barely see.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
crying.
Man, the tears,
tears coming through. Man, I
Absolutely.
look up, I'm in my mom's lap, and the whole church is praying around me.
Absolutely,
Just
yeah.
praying over me.
Absolutely.
And that was an experience for me. What are the chances that I'm choking on this mint,
Right.
and there's a nurse, the pew behind me,
Right.
and
Right.
just did what she had to do.
Right.
Who knows if anybody else knew what to do?
Right.
It was a blessing, man. So,
And I think God does that. It's the story of Ruth, where the Bible says that Boaz, he left handfuls of purpose for her. In other words, I think God does things like that throughout our life
Gotcha.
to let us know that he's there.
for example, hands full of purpose. What do you mean? Throw something at us.
It's almost like Hansel and Gretel. It's the breadcrumbs.
Got you.
So God will leave little hints and indicators of himself that he's been there the whole entire time.
Understood.
Now, whether you pay attention to them or not, that's a whole different story.
True.
Moses turned aside to look at the bush that was on fire. The significance of the story was that it wasn't the fact that the bush was on fire that got his attention, because in that particular area of the world, it was common for bushes to catch on fire. What caught his attention was the fact that the bush wasn't consumed. So God is always leaving super things in our natural in order to get our attention.
Do you think so? If we have a person that may not be a believer or sitting on the fence right now, do you think they need to heed those signs? They need to heed those signs God are leaving, and that will help them in life.
Pay attention to it. Absolutely.
Okay.
Pay attention. Stop. Pause for a minute.
For sure.
And consider. Sometimes we get so busy. We're so busy going through the day. We got bills to pay. We got places to go, people to talk to, phone calls to make. Sometimes we just pass by it.
Right.
And we miss what should be obvious.
Got it. So you think a lot of people day to day, they're going through anxiety, depression, whatever they're going through, whatever attack, they get signs. They can turn their life around. They just got to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Got it.
The scripture says, for the grace of God that brings salvation hath appeared unto all men. So God is working and doing things. I just think sometimes we're not always paying attention to it.
Paying attention.
Yeah.
See, that's what I think is beautiful too. We still have the choice.
Oh, right, absolutely.
You could go left or right each time.
Yeah.
Hopefully you go right more times than left.
Absolutely.
But man, I try.
God's a perfect gentleman. God will let you. I say this: God is like the original Burger King. He'll let you have it your way. If that's what you want. If
for real.
If that's what you want,
absolutely.
Someone taught me this years ago, and it really helped me. They said, God's will is nevertheless. When Jesus was praying in the garden, he said, Father, nevertheless, not my will, but thy will be done. God's will, between my will and his will, God's will is nevertheless. My will is always the lesser.
Absolutely.
So if I get my way, I get the worst off case.
Got you.
But if I submit to the will and the purpose of God, God sees bigger than what I see. God sees the fuller picture. If I submit to that, I get so much more than what I could have imagined.
For sure. And see, a lot of people think like you giving it to God, that's giving your problems your trust. That's giving everything to him and letting him work it out for you. Because yet again, Burger King, you get it your way. Who knows how you're going to handle it?
I've messed up a lot of things handling it my way.
Exactly. How many times have you messed up? I know there's times I'm like, man, why didn't I just pray about this, man?
I think that one of the things that I think one of the things I hope we graduate from is always blaming the devil on things.
Ooh, explain something to me.
Because without a devil, we do bad all by ourselves. We create our own problems.
Yes.
And I think sometimes we make the devil the scapegoat for our own decisions and choices that we make.
Oh, yes, and that's true. I mean, look at who was our Job. He got tempted by the devil so many times, but his faith didn't waver in God.
Right, absolutely.
So
even his wife looked at him and said, "Why do you maintain your integrity? Curse God and die."
See, that's what I mean. You got to keep that faith and just stay strong in it.
Right.
I think it's such a huge thing because, like you said, so many people blame it on the enemy when really we're causing a lot of this. He just giving us tools.
It takes away our accountability.
Got you.
Because if I can blame it on someone else, then I don't have to be accountable that I made the mistake. It's the blame game.
That's true.
Genesis. Well, they sin. Well, Adam goes, well, look, it was the woman you gave me. That woman you gave me, I ate the fruit because of her. And she goes, look, that was the devil. He did it.
Yeah.
So it's the blame game. We do that.
Do you think for us as young men, we really need to work on our accountability then?
Oh, absolutely. I think everybody does.
Yes.
When I got married, one of the things I refused to do is not be accountable and being adjustable.
Got it.
Because if I don't grow, then Then I set the ceiling as the husband. I set the ceiling for how far we go in our home, according to my attitude and my degree of submission. So if I'm not constantly being adjusted by God and taking accountability, then I potentially stunt the growth of everyone that is in my home.
Absolutely.
And I refuse to do that.
It's not a lot of men are as tight anymore. Just real tight on what they're doing. A lot of loose people nowadays, easily to be influenced, easily to be distracted from the goal, from the purpose. I mean, do you think with today's times, why do you think with nuclear families they don't exist as much anymore? You don't see that. Do you think that's from that temptate, that non-accountability? Do you think that's from people just not wanting to be accountable?
I think that's a part of it, but I think as a whole, our society is moving away from biblical principles and those kind of things. So the more you move away from those particular things that give you a moral compass and a foundation, what do you have to stand on? And if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
For anything. And it's true, Brandon. I mean, I see so many people who don't have those principles. They don't have those pillars.
Right.
And they're down to do anything. And I'm
absolutely.
Like, hey,
right.
saying no is a talent, man. You can say no and do something else. You can say no and stay in the home and be safe and do your thing. And
absolutely.
I think that's what's imperative of what your word is right now, because I had to learn to say no. I still struggle sometimes, but we have to understand. But the funny part is, people ask me, how you do it, Des? How you keeping this energy? You keeping it? I'm like, look, man, I stay prayed up, man. I stay prayed up. I might not be in church every Sunday, Brandon.
Right.
I might not, but I know where my principles are. I know where my pillars are. I ain't perfect, but damn, I'm doing my best, man.
Right.
And that's what's huge.
Right.
It's huge. But this conversation is great because people need to hear this, because I think a lot of people think, yes, you have to be at church every Sunday and everything. No, you just need to learn and get your principles down. Be obedient to the word, or just get some principles. That's what's so important for us to talk. Do you think talking to someone that's not a believer, how would you convince them to say, hey, man, try this God stuff out, try this Jesus stuff, or just come have a coffee with me? How would you convince someone that's like, hey, Brandon, I don't believe?
I don't know if I would try to convince them as much as I would just try to be a friend to them. Because someone said it this way: a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. So I would rather be a friend to you, and then you see God working in me, and let that be the fruit that convinces you, rather than me trying to talk to you.
Yes.
Because I could talk to you until you're blue in the face and tell you what you already know.
Right.
But until you become convincing yourself, it does me no good.
Absolutely.
So, I just try to build friendships and relationships. And from that, I try to be as authentic as I can possibly be. Absolutely. Someone said that the number one reason that atheism exists in the world is because people that claim Christianity or something of that sort don't live it. So I try to live it to the fullest. I try to live it to the fullest, so that you see that I'm not deviating off of it.
Your actions are speaking louder than the words.
Absolutely.
Your actions.
An inconsistent church or an inconsistent saint can never defeat a consistent devil.
Got it. And the devil's consistent every day.
Daily.
He's working overtime.
So if he's daily, I have to be daily.
Got it. So you thinking with actions. I mean, I know a lot of people have asked me or told me, hey, Des, I've been told I'm going to hell if I do this, this, and this. I just can't even hear it no more.
Right.
Isn't that tough, man? Or what's your opinion on that, man?
There's a fine line between constantly telling somebody that, because it's good to know that, to have that awareness of that, man. But you don't have to browbeat someone with it all the time.
Got you.
I won't browbeat someone over the head with it like that.
Right.
It does no good.
They just gonna turn blue and be discouraged.
Absolutely. Someone said it this way, why preach to your problem? You already know you have a problem.
Sure.
So rather than focus on the problem, why not focus on the solution?
Wow.
So when I preach, I don't preach to people, oh, you're messed up, and I don't browbeat people like that. I want to tell them what God wants to do, what God desires to do.
Giving them a solution, giving them
Absolutely.
escape from their
Absol-
old ways.
right,
there. Yep,
absolutely.
for sure.
Yeah.
I took up a mentor. It's been a year now, and he's from church. He's from a church, but what really resonated with me was he was from that life.
Right.
He was
Absolutely.
from that life.
Right.
And he cracks jokes with me. Like, I love what you just said earlier. I'm going to be a friend to this person.
Right.
And that's what he did for me, man.
Right.
He knows the Bible. We have Bible study. We do our thing. But he's from that life. So he's like, I can talk to you. I can talk to you from experience.
Because people don't care what you know until they know that you care.
Exactly. And that's what, it's been good.
When you feel that someone cares,
Yes.
you let the walls down.
Absolutely.
Walls come down. Then you're able to talk about things that you wouldn't ordinarily talk to other people about.
For sure.
And once the walls come down, then that's where the process of healing can begin.
Got it.
The same walls that we build to keep people out is the same wall that keeps God out. And somewhere the wall has to come down.
Has to.
It has to. I understand that because of, the lifestyle and the things that I experienced growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you put up a wall quick. It's hard to trust people. You tell people your most vulnerable, situations and moments, and then people take that and use it against you, and you get burned and you get stabbed in the back enough times, you're gonna build up walls.
Isn't that crazy too? Some of the people who will smile to your face and make you feel so comfortable and then stab you in the back. So I don't blame people when they come from that hurt, man.
Right.
I mean, I couldn't imagine. I've done it, share my life with somebody,
Right.
and then they turn around and it's right here, closed doors.
But I tell people, I go, look, I say, you may not trust me, I'll do my absolute best to be as authentic and to walk that tightrope as possible. But at my best, I'll fall short and I'll fail. But God will never fail. You'll never go in prayer and divulge your most sensitive and vulnerable information to God, and then God turn around and tell it to me.
Man.
So that I can harm you with it. No. Man. God has seen you and I at our absolute worst, and he still decided that he loved you. Think about that. The worst that you could ever be.
The worst.
The stuff that you hide from me, that you won't let me see, you won't talk to me about. Mm-hmm. The skeletons that are in your closet that you don't.
Society would banish you to.
Absolutely. God's already seen that.
Seen it.
And he said, I love you regardless. I just want you to come talk to me about it. So that we can get you out of that place.
That's huge, man. Why do you think for a lot of non-believers, their biggest thing, or people on the fence, what is your counter when they say, why would God let all this bad stuff happen in the world?
Well, we all have choice. God isn't going to violate your will. So one of the things about the spirit world is that a spirit needs a body in order to get its will accomplished, just like God.
For sure.
God is a spirit, but God needs someone to submit to him in order for the will of God to be accomplished.
So we're the vessel.
Absolutely.
We're the vessel. Got
Absolutely. It. So all of this bad stuff is somewhere we're not submitting to God. So something is working. Something is influencing behind the scenes. All of that hurt and all of that stuff that we don't talk about, all of the family trauma, all of that stuff that we don't want to talk about, spirits work behind the scenes and impact that.
Gotcha.
And they work from the woundedness that we go through. And if we don't get healed from that, it just creates a vicious cycle.
Got it. For sure.
And so, well, why doesn't God stop it all? But
is that the enemy talking? Is that the other side talking, saying that? Is that people that's consumed maybe by a darkness that says, why doesn't God stop it all? Because me personally, I think that's excuse my language, a smart ass question.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think
I'll say it for you. It's okay. I'll say it for you.
I think it's the best way to deflect. It's the best way to deflect.
It is. It's a good way. What you mean by that? You think they're just deflecting what you have to say about that?
Because if I give you that scenario, sure, God could stop all of it, absolutely. But what about you? What about God? You becoming vulnerable and letting God work through you so that you can get whole, and then you can go and help somebody else.
Got you.
It's easier to deflect it onto something else.
I see. That responsibility again,
Absolutely.
that accountability.
Right.
Do you think with that person, I just always love this topic to talk about it. Do you think someone has to be in church every Sunday in order to be doing the right thing?
No, but I think it helps because it gives you a community of faith to connect with. Because truth be told, there are moments that we're not always at our best. My faith is not always, where I want it to be. I'm not always living on top of the mountain. So it's good to have a community that you can connect with so that when you are struggling, they can help you and encourage you.
Absolutely.
I think it absolutely helps. Absolutely.
Do you think with that, Brandon, one thing I always thought, I start realizing as I go through life, I'm going to church, I'm worshiping, I'm praising, which is great. Good energy, especially if you feel welcomed. If you feel that you can trust everybody or most people.
Right.
Do you think, because one thing I start saying is, okay, I'm listening to everybody pastor and I'm listening to everybody give their piece, which is great. Thank you. I love hearing this. But now I need to learn. I need to learn for myself, because when this guy quotes the Bible, I don't really know what he's saying.
Absolutely.
I need to learn. I need to study.
Yeah.
Do you think that's another important thing, especially if you're not going to be there every Sunday?
Oh, absolutely.
Having your knowledge right.
Absolutely.
Got it.
Yeah, you have to. Don't just take my word for it. Go study it for yourself. I spent hours putting in the work to preach it. Yes. I would hope. That when it's all said and done, you would also go back and do the research as well, so that you see as well what it is that I'm telling you is legit. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How much work have you put in that book, man? I gotta ask, how much work? So when someone listens, they be like, okay, this Brandon guy got my attention. How much studies you really put in there?
Man, I don't. That's tough. That's tough.
That much, huh?
I don't even know how to answer that because I spend so much time doing it. Spend so much time praying throughout the day, and just in my set time and in reading the Word. I want to know. I want to know and understand.
Understand for sure.
What does God require of me? But I want to know what is the Bible. I want to understand it. I want to know it
for sure.
I don't want to be a fair weather saint. I want to know what is in the Word of God.
What's fair weather saint, Brandon? What's that meaning?
Meaning, I don't want to just. When I grew up, the 2 times a year that we went to church was Christmas and Easter. That's kind of the norm anymore.
Right? I feel you.
And that's kind of what I mean. I want to. If I'm going to be in it, I'm going to be all in.
For sure.
That's just kind of how I am. If I'm in something, I'm all in.
Okay.
Like when I played basketball, I was all in. I studied I heard stories about Magic Johnson and Larry Bird putting in 500 free throws before school starts. So, I would get up early in the morning before school, man, and I'm putting in my free throws. So that's what I'm talking about. I'll spend the time. In my earlier years, I spent 5, 6, 7 hours reading the Bible.
Wow.
Straight through.
Wow.
I would spend 2-3 hours praying. Mm-hmm. And I did that for years, and I still do that. Now that I'm married, I don't have as much time, but because of the foundation that I put in when I was single. So my single years, I devoted to knowing God.
For sure.
So I'll like this. So when God created Adam and Eve, God created Adam apart from Eve. They both had their alone time with God before God ever brought them together. Mm-hmm. So when I was a youth pastor, I told a lot of my youth, don't waste your single years trying to pursue a relationship.
Absolutely.
Learn how to hear the voice of God for yourself. Learn who God is for yourself.
Right.
Because when you get married, you just don't have all of that time that you do when you're a single. The single Brandon, I had all day, man. I had all day I didn't have to check in with my wife. I didn't have to go, hey, what are we doing for dinner? I could get up, go to work, go as I please. Weekends came. I could do whatever I wanted to do.
Whatever you wanted, but you locked in.
But I locked in.
You
Absolutely.
locked in.
Absolutely.
And that's...
So a man of God told me this. He said, you can either pay now and play later, or you can play now and pay later.
Ooh.
He said, but if you decide to play right now, when it's going to count and when it matters, you're going to have to put yourself in training and you're going to be behind the curve. Or you can discipline yourself now so that later on down the road, you can play and you don't have to put in as much time and work. So I spent hours praying, hours reading the Bible. My wife could tell you, bro, I would do 3-4 weeks fasting where I would go just water.
Wow.
And I would put in the time because I wanted to know. God created the entire universe, spoke it into existence, giving me an opportunity to know who he is. Why wouldn't I take that up?
That part, for real. That's so true. It's so true. And that's just life advice, man. Like, lock in on your dreams and your goals and aspirations. If you really want something, the bar's not too high. It's just how hard do you want to work for it?
Absolutely.
How bad? Like, you just dropped a gem right there, man.
Absolutely.
Like, it's just, dude, like, people think, oh, I want to be an NBA player. They think, oh, if they kind of try, it's going to come in. No, you got to work. Like what you just said.
Absolutely.
Was wifey, before she was your wife, was she a little upset at times? Like, hey, let's go to dinner. Let's go eat. And you like, no, I had to lock in.
No.
Oh, you're blessed. Yeah, you real blessed. Dang, I be, man.
Well, I mean, she understood. She understood what I was trying to accomplish.
For sure.
And I just wasn't going to let that go for anything.
Yeah. It's true. They said old fools used to be young fools. And you got to choose what you do with your time, man.
Absolutely.
You got to. I know, I'm going to circle back to the nuclear family thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
One of my favorite things I always say is like, you got to be the best you before you're the best anything else. And so just what you said is, are you working out? Are you taking care of your vessel? Are you giving it the right fuel? Are you eating right? Are you keeping your spirit aligned? Are you keeping your spirit checked?
Right.
Are you doing all these things so when you meet that lady, you meet that partner, you two can come together and become whole?
Right.
I think that's so imperative. So many people try to find comfort in others.
Absolutely.
And then that person might be broken too.
Absolutely.
When really the universe and God was like, yo, I'm trying to have you whole. So when you meet her or meet him, you can not fix them, but help them. You can guide them the right way.
Right.
You feel me?
Yeah.
You got to take care of yourself because God put you here. Now he wants you to be the best you. Right. He don't want you sitting around being lazy. He don't want you sitting around not being educated, doing nothing. He wants you working on you every day, man.
Absolutely.
That's something I truly believe is a coach in the gym, all that stuff. Be the best you.
Absolutely.
Then.
And here I am. I'm trying to get, I feel like I got the spiritual aspect that down more so, and I'm trying to get that physical aspect of it. I didn't really start paying attention. When you're young, man, you kind of feel like you're invisible.
Oh, man.
Until you get a little bit older, then your body stops responding the way that it used to when you're young.
Yes. Yes.
So when I turned 30, I did some praying and fasting. I was asking God, how do you want me to focus for my 30s? Absolutely. What should my 30s look like? Mm-hmm. What should I be doing now? And one of the things that I felt was that the need to get in a better physical position.
Gotcha.
Wanted to get healthier.
For sure.
Absolutely.
I think it just helps to everything. It really does.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
I 100% believe that. Exercise.
Yep.
I'm not saying you got to go lift weights all the time and then go for a walk, go for a little jog. If you got a dog, take it.
Right.
just take care of yourself.
Right.
Don't just sit around. I think that's
I think the biggest thing though is what we eat. That's the hardest part.
That's the key. That's the key we got to
I tell friends this all the time, or I just joke around with people like, man, when we were playing basketball back in high school, bro, it was every day. I played basketball Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Right.
And I ate whatever I wanted to eat because I was just burning it off.
Yep.
And then when you get into college, but even in college, I still played basketball on the weekends and some during the weekday. But when I got a job and I didn't have as much time,
oh man,
I never adjusted. I didn't adjust, what I was eating. I kept eating the same garbage food.
Man, I had to be careful. What job were you working?
I did several. Cashiering. I did that for a number of years. So I was Dollar Tree, Walgreens. I did them both for a number of years. Then I worked at Spring Valley Dairy, a local dairy warehouse. That was horrible because, man, you got stuff for free.
Oh,
I got all my cheese, all of my milk, eggs, butter. I got all of it for free.
Oh, you was good.
When I got married, my freezer, I had the entire freezer full of cheese that I had frozen and butter. And because I was like, I'm never gonna have to pay for this again, man. And so I just brought that all. When I got married, we just transferred it all.
Hey, so I know if I need some butter, I'm coming to your house.
It's gone now, but I had for a long time, man. I had whatever kind of cheese you want. I could get it.
Man. Yes. Oh my goodness.
But then I worked for Tyree Oil, a local oil company, and I did that. And so, man, I was pushing 12, 14-hour days.
Man.
Clocking in, man. And so you just don't have the time to, to go play basketball, for 2-3 hours.
Yes. I had a desk job. Like, I get it. Pizza parties like crazy. Bringing snacks in. I'm like, man, I'm sitting there, though, 8 hours, man. I'm like, dude, man, I got to go walk.
Right.
So I would eat and then go for a walk. Just always try to do, because you're right. It be trying to get you.
Bro, I got friends to this day.
Oh, for real?
I have only gained 5 pounds since I've known them, man. I eat something, I feel like, man, I have to go on a marathon,
Don't try to say I'm one of them, but don't talk. Yeah, I see how you look.
You still got the same build, man. You might have put on a little bit muscle, but no, you're still the Tone Desmond I knew.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I got it in before we sat here. I had to get it in real quick. Had to,
Right. Yeah.
Oh man. Oh my gosh.
And so I'll have spurts, man, where it's like I do well for a couple of weeks, maybe a month, and then I'll have a dessert and it just knocks me off, and it's like the uphill climb, to get back on the saddle.
Well, shoot, you from Alabama originally, down south.
Absolutely.
I hear that food good out there,
bro. Yes, sir.
Is it?
Yep.
A lot of love in it.
Yep. Thanksgiving, my aunt would make the giant pots of gumbo. We would have giant pots of gumbo, and I mean, I'm talking about back in those days. They cook with lard. There was no avocado oil, and there was none of that stuff. It's lard, man. It's out of the Crisco, out of the big old containers.
Gosh, man.
Everything was
the good stuff.
The good stuff, absolutely, man. That's what I grew up on.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Man.
Yep.
Gosh. Can you make the gumbo? You know how to make it?
No.
Nah, you don't.
Nope. I didn't spend enough time in the kitchen learning.
Gotcha.
It's a goal of mine. It's a goal. Okay. I'm a foodie, so I like to cook. I smoke a lot of meats, so I do a lot of brisket, a lot of tri-tip.
You got like a Traeger, or?
I've got a Masterbuilt electric smoker.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, those smokers.
It's good. It's good for right now. There's there's something I got on my list that I want to get.
Got on the Christmas list.
It'll run me about north of $500. But it's the quality. You get what you pay for.
You get what you pay.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
Man, I love it, man. Shoot, I invested in an air fryer. I love that little thing, man.
absolutely,
That
yeah.
air fryer been good to me.
Absolutely.
Throw my little meal in there, boom,
Yep.
boom, we good.
Absolutely. Yes,
Oh,
sir.
yeah.
You can do steak in your air fryer, salmon in the air
Salmon.
fryer.
Someone dropped me
Absolutely.
off some salmon.
Yep,
Thank you. I
absolutely,
appreciate you.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
I still got one slab frozen. I'm like, I'm gonna hold this for a special moment.
That's what I do, man. My wife, she gets on me because we got 3 freezers in our garage,
Okay.
and 2 of them are packed with fish.
Are they? Man, y'all blessed. So that's one of the best things to eat, man.
Yeah.
Get some fish, put a little lemon on there or something.
Couple
chilling.
years ago, I think it was in the middle of the pandemic. I got when COVID really hit, I got laid off my job, and I went fishing. I caught over 40 salmon, and it was spring salmon at that. And spring salmon is well sought after because it has a lot of fat and omegas that's in it. So if you go to like your local fisherman's market or something like that, a fillet of salmon like that will run you $40-$50.
Ooh.
So, I did the math. I had, $5,000 plus sitting in my freezer.
Oh my gosh. So good.
I was telling my wife, I was like, look, this is why I do it. I know I'm gone, but it pays out in the end.
It does. We eating good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I got tired of, like, you go to a restaurant, you get those thin little,
Oh, nothing.
prepackaged salmon fillets that you're going to pay, you
Right.
know, $20-$30 for. And
No. So I'm gonna go do it myself.
Absolutely.
Is fishing one of your escapes if life's just getting tough or you need to just get away for a little bit? Is that one of your?
It kept me out of trouble. So
Okay.
my uncle, when I grew up in Alabama,
Mm-hmm.
there were a couple, my fondest memories is of him pulling me out of school, and we would go down to the Gulf of Mexico and go fish.
Oh wow. He had a boat and everything?
No, we would just go bank fish.
Okay,
He knew
okay.
where to go, and we would
Gotcha.
just fish.
Wow.
And then we would get coolers full of fish, and we would come back, and red snapper was very very popular. So I would sell some of those fish. I get 10, 15, $20 off of a fish, and we would have giant fish fries. So I fished. That my uncle got me hooked into fishing. So then when I moved to Oregon, I just had to learn a new style of fishing. So then I started trout fishing and bass fishing. And then when I got in church, one of the guys taught me how to steelhead and salmon fish. And then from there, I just kept going with it.
Just took off with
Absolutely. It kept me out of trouble.
Absolutely. Even like, were you fishing in high school?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yep.
That's awesome. That's cool.
Yep.
So it's amazing. It's
Fishing and basketball kept me out of a lot of trouble.
for sure.
Because being a young man, I was angry because of a lot of the stuff that I had gone through. I spent a lot of time fighting. Most people don't know that.
Oh, you was throwing hands?
I spent a lot of time fighting.
Man.
And so basketball and fishing helped get me out of trouble.
Man, you a patient man, because when you and I would play ball, I know I would nudge you. I know you would look at me like, boy.
But I enjoy it.
Yes. It's a
I
good way to
enjoy
get
it.
aggression out.
Absolutely.
Without going crazy, of course.
Yeah,
but, you know,
absolutely,
playing.
yeah.
For
And
sure.
I'm not one of those. I'm not going to fight you over a basketball game. I want to beat you rather than fight you.
That part.
I want to get I want the satisfaction of crossing you over and hitting that jump shot.
Yes.
Or crossing you over, getting to the rim.
It's the best feeling.
Absolutely.
It's the best feeling.
Absolutely.
I've got a couple stories. I had couple brothers come at me.
Yeah.
Hit that game winner, and
Yeah.
it's like, man, that feels way better
Yeah,
than anything
I mean,
else.
you can't say nothing after that.
You can't.
Yeah.
You lost.
You trash talk all you want, but until that final basket, absolutely.
Gosh. So you had a time where you was going through some things. You was throwing hands, had a lot of anger.
Yeah,
And fishing and basketball was it.
absolutely.
Got you. along with start going to church, of course. There.
Yeah.
Start.
Yeah, that was, church didn't come into play, and I want to say it was the summer of my sophomore year. It's incredible how it all worked out, because when I moved from Alabama to Oregon, I went to River Bend Elementary School, and one of the kids that I met there, we're still really good friends to this day. His brother was the youth pastor of the church that I would later go to. That's how God had put it all together.
So you wasn't going to church back in Alabama, like you said. You were just going Christmas and then Easter.
Those are the two big times everybody goes. Man.
So when you got to Oregon, okay.
Yep. God just connected it.
Wow. Wow.
God will change your environment in order to change your destiny. That's what I learned. God moved me 1,800 miles, something like that, from Alabama to Oregon. Nobody knew me, but God knew. God knew what I would eventually become, and he needed to get me out of a place that I was familiar with, and he had to get me to a place that I was unfamiliar to work with me.
Got you.
Yeah, there was a lot of my cousins were involved in a lot of gang trouble, man. Before we left, my cousin got shot 8 times point blank range.
No.
Someone tried to rob the bike that he was on, and my cousin wasn't going for it, so they got in a fight and guy shot him. I think it was like a couple months later, my uncle was walking down to the corner store. One of the guys on the block, I don't want to see you back down here on this block. My uncle's not going for it. Came back the next day, guy pulled out a gun, blew a big old hole in the side of his leg. They both survived. And I went and I got to go to the hospital, and they showed me the bullet holes. I saw.
Wow.
So I saw what it was like living that kind of a life. So I knew if I didn't get through my brokenness and my trauma, that's where I was headed back to.
Got it.
Yeah.
You were in the environment. You
Absolutely.
didn't want to be a product of it.
Right.
So you at a young age asked to go to Oregon, or what happened with that?
No, my mom did. So that violence, those 2 encounters was some of the things that did it for my mom.
Wow.
And she was like, look, I don't want you going through this.
For sure.
And so, I mean, growing up in a single parent home, dad's not in the house. So I'm angry because I don't have a dad. Where's dad? I didn't hear anything from my dad. So I carried that. And so all of the fighting was a result of the fighting and the trauma that was on the inside that nobody knew about.
Sheesh. And us as men, we need to heal from that, because us men, we hold that in.
We
man.
don't talk.
We don't talk.
Men, most of the time, men go inward. We go inward. We don't talk. And so until we get to that point, God spoke this to me a couple years ago. He said, he said, there is no transformation without vulnerability.
That is very true. That is very true.
So you're not gonna have the kind of transformation you want if you don't get open and talk to God about what it is that you go through.
That's so true.
So I'm very big on trying to get people to become vulnerable.
Yes.
You don't have to you don't have to tell me everything that you've gone through, but talk to God. Get in prayer and talk to God about that. Get those walls down so that all those things that you don't talk about, you can finally get some peace and rest from all of that stuff.
Yes.
I heard one minister say that a lot of the health situations that we go through is linked to unforgiveness. Cancer, heart problems, all of those different things that we go through.
Yes.
A lot of that is linked to unforgiveness. Things that we went through in our past that we've just held in internally and we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
And so until you open up and talk to God and forgive those people, it's going to be hard to move forward. This is why for me, when I hear people say, well, I'm going to become I'm going to become the best version of myself. So where are you getting that from? What best version of yourself? Where are you getting your direction from?
Gotcha.
Where are you getting your vision from, and what that looks like?
Absolutely.
And if you're the one that's still calling the shots on your own life, talking about becoming the best version of yourself, you're just going to repeat the cycle. It's the hamster in the wheel that's constantly going around, because you're the one that's still managing and controlling the decisions and choices in your life.
Absolutely. It's so true what you just said there. And people forget that's my ingredient, keeping God at the center of it.
Absolutely.
Me knowing that something bigger than me, bigger than anybody on this planet, is running things and has it under control is the most peace you can ever have. Right. It's so peaceful. And to my people listening that just learning to maybe learn about God, or you're trying to understand, this is the perfect person to talk to right here, because he put the hours in, he has the substance to it. I'm just saying my experience, to just know that I can pray and just know it's going to be okay. And like you said earlier during our conversation, you could do some of the nastiest things and he's still going to forgive you. It's it's medicine. It's
Right.
it's amazing to the flesh to be able to have these prayers, to have these conversations, to have put this problem in his hands.
Absolutely.
And because generational curses are real.
Oh, absolutely.
Back to your hamster
Absolutely.
wheel.
Yeah.
We try to do it ourselves.
Right.
It's repeating the cycle. I've seen it. I see some of my cousins do it. I see all of us.
Right.
And something has to break the cycle. Something has to change.
Definition of insanity.
Doing the same thing over and over
And
again.
expecting a different result.
That part exactly.
Absolutely.
And that's where, I believe in one thing, I want to talk to you about this, and correct me however I say this, but faith in works. You have to put faith in your works and works in your faith. I'm going to say it both ways.
Right.
So whatever you're working on, you got to have faith in it too.
Right.
You got to, and whatever faith you have, you got to work on it.
Absolutely.
You got to constantly work. You got to build.
Right.
And it's so tough. It's, I'm a dog guy. I love dogs.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I hear a lot of breeders go, "Oh, that's a bad bloodline." See these puppies.
I've heard that.
Have you heard that?
I've heard that. Yeah.
Bad bloodline.
Yeah.
How are we different? There's bloodlines that we've been through so much trauma, so much things. Like you said,
One of the biggest things that drives me is that I want when people mention the Maddox name, I want there to be a different story that's attached to it.
got it.
I want God to do such a work of transformation in my life that none of the stigma that is associated, at least what I know, it's not attached there. I want that story to be different.
Absolutely.
When I have kids, I want God to create a different story.
Absolutely.
Brandon, he was a man of integrity. Not just character. Character is who people know you are. Integrity is who God knows you are. It's a huge different thing. Huge difference. Mm-hmm. I want to have integrity as well as character. I want to be a man of my word. I want to be disciplined. I want to be balanced.
For sure.
And I want people to know that not just that I walk with God, but that God walks with me.
That's huge. It's huge. And that confidence in that stance you have there makes people going to draw to you, because yet again, it's a loose world right now.
Right.
You're just going to be a powerful man who's empowered by God. And that's huge.
I've just seen a lot of brokenness.
I was going to say a lot of brokenness.
And I understand where that leads. And I know what that looks like.
Mm-hmm. It's needed, man.
The prayers that I pray, the tears that I cry, because of what I'm attached to, who I'm attached to, the people that I'm attached to, and the trauma and the brokenness that's there, that I want God to heal that.
For sure. He's doing a great job with you now. You always been a good man. You always was a good friend to me, even in high school, to get personal with you. You was just always a good man. And that's huge. It's people remember you by how you make them feel. And, you always been there holding me down. So I appreciate that, man. Absolutely,
man. You're good to people that are good to you. And, I made some great friends playing basketball. Mm-hmm. And, some of those bonds and friendships, I try to pour into those and keep those friendships solid,
For sure. For sure. Iron sharpens iron anyways.
Absolutely.
Man. So, even just having this conversation with you reminds me to maybe I need to reach out to you more. What's up, B? How you doing? Because when you have a good person, you honor them. You honor good people. Right. That's just, you gotta do it. If someone knows more than me about something I want to know about, you gotta honor a good person.
Right.
You can learn a lot from them. So that's one thing that's huge.
Absolutely.
It is. It's huge.
Yeah. Relationships matter, man.
They do. They do. Circling back, so you're recently married?
Yeah.
How long you been married now?
About 5 years.
5 years. Yeah. Okay, that's
Absolutely.
Awesome. How's it been?
It's been a challenge.
Oh?
It's been a challenge.
For sure. Sure.
It's a learning curve because, coming from, when you're a single man, I got all the time and I got all of the freedom to be able to come and go as I please. But when you get married, it's a whole different ball of wax. You have someone else that's there in the ring with you that you have to work with, and you have to collaborate together. And so for me, the hardest part, my wife was conditioned for marriage. It wasn't difficult for her to make the adjustment from singleness to marriage. Me, it took a little bit.
Gotcha.
Because there's a lot of selfishness and things that I had to break out of. A man of God told me marriage is the greatest cure to selfishness. No marriage can survive and someone be selfish.
But see, Brandon, you wasn't out. You wasn't on the scene. You wasn't at the club. You was
right.
So how was it hard for you?
Well, just ingrained habits. Habits.
Got it.
We're a product of our habits.
For sure.
So-
Yes, we are. Yes,
And
we
when you-
are. Woo!
And when you
Man.
and when you get married, a lot of habits have to go.
Got it.
If it's going
Got
to
it.
work. If
For
you're
sure.
building for the long term and you want it to work, I want to have a 20, 30, 40, 50 plus marriage if the Lord wills. The only way that works is Brandon has to not be selfish. And I can't be selfish
No, you can't.
for it to work.
That's what I hear. I ain't married, but that's what I hear.
Absolutely. Yeah. So no, I wasn't on the scene. I had my, you have your high school romances and things like that. You learn from those things. And I had too much freedom. I had too much freedom not having a dad that was there to check me when I needed it.
Got it. For sure.
Thankful I did not get myself in, worse. My story could be completely different
Man.
with some of the decisions that I made. Here we go again, not blaming someone else, but taking the accountability. I made a lot of decisions that I look back and I'm going, man, if it wasn't for God, I could have ruined a lot.
For sure. But you learned from it. That's the cool part.
Absolutely.
You learned from it.
Yeah.
Get a look back.
I wish I didn't have to learn.
Man, me, right?
I wish I didn't have to go through some of those things.
Same.
I looking back, man, it just wasn't worth it.
It's not. I feel you. I get it because I've done the same.
Right.
But it's like, dang, now I know because those opportunities came up again.
Right.
And it's like, nah, I'm good.
The three things men deal with is money, power, sex.
Oh, I got that on this list.
And so one of the biggest challenges for men is sex. How do you, and if you're a young man that has a lot of freedom, you have a lot of access to things that you shouldn't.
Yes.
And it can be very detrimental,
Very.
to where you're trying to go.
Well, especially in today's world. I mean,
right.
you see these young kids, 16,
Yeah.
Brandon, 17. They're
Yep.
streamers.
Yep.
They're making all this money.
Yep.
How detrimental can that be, man? I couldn't imagine being in high school and some company saying, "Hey, great job on your computer. Here's $2 million."
Right.
Oh my gosh. Now that's like you said, now you got money, which they think is power.
Right.
And now most young men, a lot of sex.
Absolutely. There's a book that I'm reading. It's called The Cyber Effect. It's by Mary Atkin. It's an incredible book. She's a cyber psychologist. And she talks about the effects of social media and being online and just how much impact that has on the human behavior. So she tells a she tells a story of a person that, way back in the day when porn wasn't as readily accessible on your phone as it is today. So back in the day, you would have to get a magazine, which was in the front of the register. I don't know if you remember that, but they had the magazines that
Yes.
was in front of the register.
Yes,
So
yes.
if you were going to get that content, you had to deal with the judgment or whatever from the cashier who's looking at you pick up the magazine.
Yes,
so you had
yes.
to go through it that way.
Now-
Whereas now,
Real quick, Brandon, on this. When
Yeah.
you say the P word, we do got to say adult entertainment
okay,
just
my
because
bad.
YouTube.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're good.
So adult content. So you would have to pick up the magazine, put it on the counter, and you would have to deal with the human interaction of that person looking at you,
Yes.
knowing that that's not the best choice for you to make. And so now we have it accessible on our phone. So she talks about how now the struggle that a person has is exacerbated because the web is so far reaching.
Absolutely.
So whereas one person back in those times, it was just the magazine and what was in the pages of that. Now you can get on social media, you can get online, and you can hit every kind of subgenre there is in the adult entertainment, and it just takes you further than you ever thought about going.
And I always look at it as a view. Our view was so narrow growing up.
Right.
Everything you just said was so narrow.
Right.
Now, like you said, the view just open.
Oh, absolutely. The gateway is open. Astronomical. It's incredible.
It's crazy. I watched this movie last year. I think it was called. Have you seen it? Nefarious.
I don't think I've seen it.
You got to watch that movie, Nefarious.
Okay.
Pretty much. I'll give you a quick rundown of it. Guy gets possessed.
Okay.
And then they label him as crazy. Throw him in a jail.
Okay.
Counselor comes in. Fancy dude, got it all together, but he's a non-believer.
Okay.
And so the entity that possessed the prisoner wanted that. He wanted to talk to the non-believer.
Right.
For a certain reason. And so the whole movie is about these two just talking. He's locked up, the entity, the guy.
Right.
And it would go in and out of him, as we know.
Right.
And sometimes he's normal, sometimes he's not. Long story short, he's just talking to this guy, and the non-believer's like, what are you talking about? Then he started proving how he's real. And he said, kind of circling back to how humanity has to take accountability.
Right.
He said, you guys did it for me. He said, for us. He said, you made it easy. You guys made phones, made weapons, made all these. He said, you made it easy.
Right.
He said, now all we got to do is give you guys a nudge. It's a wrap.
Absolutely.
So yeah, definitely watch that movie, Brandon. That's
Nefarious.
Yeah, Nefarious. I'll send you the link, but that was a good movie. And he did. He said, you guys did all the work for us. He said, all this stuff here, cool. Thank you.
Wow.
And
Wow.
It was crazy.
So yeah, there's a lot for men to navigate being in the time span that we are in right now.
Yes.
There's a lot. The average, according to the book that I'm reading, the average person picks up their phone 200 times a day.
Wow.
That's once every 5 minutes.
It's crazy. Crazy.
So when you think about our life kind of just being connected to the web like that, and there's just so much reach and expanse, there's a lot to guard.
Yes. Well, yet again, it comes back to what I was saying earlier. We have so much knowledge, but our wisdom lacks, man.
Yeah.
And it's kind of compared to like calling somebody or going to see somebody compared to texting them or emailing them.
Right.
It's like when you're reading something or just watching a video, you're like downloading it in your mind.
Right.
You're not really processing the emotions. You're having dopamine go through. That's what you're dealing with. And we all have done it. I'll put my hand up there. But you need to go see people or have these face-to-face conversations. That's what's essential.
Right.
Because yet again, we're looking here. You read it, guess what? It's out your mind.
Yep. Disconnect. Disconnect from it.
Yeah.
I try to have time periods where I disconnect from it, where I'm not looking at something on social media. I'm not picking up my phone. I try to read a book. Read a book. We're so media saturated. It's hard anymore for people to look in the eye and just have a straight face-to-face conversation. Yes. We're looking here because we're so used to grabbing and scrolling and just eye contact anymore. It's just gone.
It's
you
gone.
go to restaurants, whole entire families. I'm sure you've seen this, where families are seating at a table,
Man.
and they're all on their phone.
Isn't that crazy?
Nobody's talking to each other.
Blows my mind. My mind.
And I'm like, man, I tell my wife, I'm like, when I grew up, my mom was like, get out of the house. Don't come back in until dinner time. And so we were forced to go make friends with the neighbor kids and all of the, we didn't have the troubles and the cares, we just went outside and played, nowadays it's video games and folks are stuck on video games, and I'm not trying to kick whatever your deal is, and it's fine, but have some interaction, go
have some
with a friend.
balance, man. You definitely gotta have some balance.
Absolutely.
It's a whole balance.
Yeah.
And honestly, you'll find yourself liking that video game or whatever on social media a little bit more. Well, hopefully it's not adult entertainment, y'all, but whatever you're doing, if you just go outside and live your life and then come back to it, man. It's moderation.
Right.
It's moderation.
I was bad, man. I never had video game systems for a long period of time because I just could not stay locked in playing them for a long time. I'll play it for a week. After a week, I was done.
It was done.
I just couldn't sit there and spend hours in front of the game system. There was just so much more to do.
For sure.
I had friends I wanted to go hang around with. I wanted to go play basketball. When I was young, I skateboarded. We would go skateboard.
You did. That's right. That's right, man.
Bro, we would go all the way to West Eugene and skate. We would be in Springfield.
Oh, my goodness.
Bro, we were going all over the place. Yes. I've got so many incredible memories of stuff that, that fun times that we had. And
for sure,
good
man.
memories, and I wasn't locked in the house,
Yes. When I took off social media, I had some of the best conversations, man.
Absolutely.
And met some of I would notice some of the best people, some of the greatest people.
Right.
Hey, how you doing, man? Good. Oh, you okay? I start walking to work. I walk to work. I never did that. I live down the street. I said, you know what? I can walk to work. Cool.
Yep.
Things like that, man. Yep. So it's essential.
When the pandemic hit, I bought a bike and I started
biking.
Go.
There you go. Biking. It's amazing.
Yep. I would go do 10-mile bike rides.
How do you feel about social media in the church? Church using it?
It's necessary.
Okay.
Social media has its place.
For sure.
Absolutely. The pandemic showed us that. When we were cut off from being around people, the way that we connected with people was through social media. So there's a place for it. Just don't get sucked. Don't go down the rabbit hole and get sucked in it.
For sure.
Absolutely. I think there's a good place for it.
A good place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. Yeah. And that's what I mean with here. This is a safe space. This is a safe space anybody can come into, have a great conversation, sit down, chill like we is. Of course, I'm going to ask you them questions.
I think the study was in 2016, 7 billion people were connected to social media.
That's almost everybody.
Yeah. And so here we are, 2024. What does that tell you? Almost everybody is connected online.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
It's what you do with it.
Yes. Yep.
It's what you do.
Absolutely. How you manage it. Yes, sir.
I just think it's like with here, my biggest goal, I say post and let it go.
Right.
Post, let it go.
Right.
Especially if you're running a business or something, or the church. Put that post out, shoot it out, let it go. Call it good. Don't do it.
Ironically enough, the word addict, it's a Latin word, addictus. And basically it's a word that was used to describe a slave and the time frame that they spent serving.
Wow.
And so the person that was serving was called an addict.
Got you. And they're serving they
were serving somebody. The slave was serving someone. So it was a term used to describe the time frame that they had to spend serving. So a lot of people become slaves to social media. We become addicts. We become hooked on it.
For sure.
And
For sure.
And in the book, the lady Mary Atkins, she talked about how posting online releases a chemical that gives you dopamine.
Yes.
Makes you an addict.
100%.
People get such a rush from posting something and the affirmation that they get from their post.
I turned off my notifications, man. I'll tell you that right now.
People derive their value from whether people like their post or their comments, and people are going to comment. People are going to comment. They're going to be some positive, and you're going to have some negative.
And
but
guess what?
Don't let it define you.
And you know the crazy part? They read the negative mostly.
Oh, absolutely.
You could have 10 positive comments, one negative,
right.
and that's the one that you usually read first. It's crazy.
Absolutely. Yep.
But it's true. It's so true. It's social media is such a beast, man.
Yeah, it's a interesting place to navigate.
Oh man, I didn't know you had, when you sent me your bio, I didn't know you had this. I was like, oh, okay. He got pages. Nice. This is good.
Yep.
Do you think for us men, just speaking of social media and taking care of our time and things, for us men to be leaders, to be mentors, the counsel, do you think the counsel is important? Us coming together once a week, twice a week, and just having conversations and being there for each other?
Yeah, I think it's great to have people that you connect with and you have a conversation with. You need to. It's hard for a man to open up to a woman. But it's easier for me to open up to another man because you understand the struggle that it means being a man.
Absolutely.
It's funny, you hear women talk about, man, I want my husband to open up and be vulnerable and all of it.
Man.
It's hard for a man to be emotional around a woman because we're supposed to be leaders and protectors and all of that.
Yeah.
But I can be vulnerable to another man because you understand what it's like. You understand the grind.
For sure.
And so absolutely, yeah. I've got some peers that I'm accountable to, and I tell them my struggles. Had a friend text me today, and I didn't have the time to get back to him, but he was apologizing because he's like, "Hey man, it's been a while since I connected with you, and just checking in, making sure everything's okay, and how you doing." And so there's a moment where I'm going to come back and recircle and connect with him to close the loop on that.
Absolutely.
Having those conversations are absolutely important.
Oh my gosh, it's so needed. But see, that's the circle too. We got to all work on being our strongest selves, being the best version of ourselves. We got to know our spirit is checked. We got to know that we're being physically all right. We're being mentally okay. Because otherwise, we can't help someone else if we're just not fixing our trauma or working towards our things,
And then also making sure that your sphere of accountability is not yes men.
Yes, that's
people,
huge.
Men, other peers that can call you out and say, "Yeah, you're wrong here. You might want to go a different way."
Oh yes, that's so true. That's true, man. A lot of people just nod and say, "Okay, good job."
Right.
When really it's like, just tell them.
Right. It's hard. Nobody wants to be the person, the one person in the group that, it's hard being that person that says, "Hey, I don't think this is a good idea." But you'll be respected more.
You'll be respected. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
I know what it's like being the yes guy.
Me too.
And I've got regrets because I should have said things. I should have opened my mouth and said things, and I didn't. And it would have helped.
It would have helped. It would have changed the whole direction.
Absolutely.
Got you.
Yep.
That's true, man. It's true. Speaking up, because if you're a real team, you can handle it. If you really trust people, you can handle it. It's okay.
Right.
If you're getting hurt feelings and this and that, you got to understand if someone really loves you and there for you, their advice or their words is usually for the best. And guess what, though? You can counter it. Always challenge. There's nothing wrong with a good debate.
Right.
But yet again, it comes from the foundation.
Right.
Do I know Desmond's locked in with me? So when Desmond says something that I might not agree with, or he disagrees with something I proposed, I know he's locked in. Right. So let me have this conversation.
Right.
Let's figure this out.
Yep.
It's huge. Foundation is key.
Yep.
Be men.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of, someone I told is there's been a lot of boys now. Boys can be 30, boys can be 40, boys can be 25. We're lacking on the men. We need the men out there right now to just.
Process. It takes process to be a man.
What kind of process?
Life will get you there. We go through enough, in life to where life will give you enough challenges.
Yes.
To where it'll force you to become a man. It'll force you to grow quicker.
Got you. Yes.
Now whether or not you grow in the process, that's up to you.
Because it's those breadcrumbs yet again.
Yeah.
You gotta make that choice with your situation, whatever you're going through.
Right.
You got to.
Yeah.
It's not what happens to you, it's how you react to it.
Right.
It's how you handle the problem. We all going to go through it, but we really got to lock in and handle that.
Yep.
The emotions, being emotional, everything like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Getting to that man spot, man. It's a process. It's a process of going through trials. I think what helps is having someone that is ahead of you that you can look at.
Okay. Yes.
That's successful.
I hear 10 years. I hear that's the number. Make sure they got 10 years experience.
Okay.
This. That's what I hear.
I've got someone in my life that's a spiritual father that's 30 maybe. Well, no, about 20.
Wow.
20 years on me.
Okay.
But he's a picture of something that I want, of where I want to be.
What you're striving for.
Absolutely. So he's an alpha male. He's disciplined.
There we go.
He's wise.
There we go.
He's respected not just in his home, but in his community. He's respected. He's a man of his word, disciplined.
See.
He loves and honors, prefers, and cherishes his wife.
There we go.
And I look at that and I go, man, that's where I want to go. That's where I want to be. When I'm in my 50s, that's where I want to be.
Man, so true.
He helped me. He helped me as a young man. I came to him and I said, look, I don't want to be a what could have been if he would have. And I came to him about the sex part. And I said, look, I'm a young man. I'm not blind.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
And I said, I need some help.
Man.
Because I don't want to self-destruct.
Yes.
And he was honest with me. He was honest with me. He was so honest with me, bro. He told me how much male fluid a man produces in a day.
Wow.
He knew that. He knew. And so he talked to me about how to navigate through the hormones of a young man and how to discipline. So I got that at a younger stage of my development.
That's huge.
Absolutely.
It is huge. So Brandon, that brings me to the point of coming back to ministry and faith and teaching. The answer isn't always, when someone's asking for help, the answer isn't always just pray about it. Here we go. It's okay. Pray about it. It's okay. Just pray.
Man, when early on it was everything, but it's still real though. That's still a part of it.
Okay. Yes.
That's still a part of it. And truth be told, most people don't do it. They don't pray about it, or if they do, they don't do it long enough.
They just say quick prayer.
It's a quick prayer. God, I'm just struggling, man. I just really need some help. No, what you need is to stay there long enough until you get in a deeper place of prayer to where you really let out what it is that you're dealing with. Why are you beyond just the physical response of your body?
Absolutely.
Why are you? What are the thoughts?
Yeah. What's the substance to this problem?
But what's the underlying thing that's motivating this beyond just the physical deal that you're going through?
Got you.
Okay, so let's take it a step further. What content are you putting in front of your face that's stimulating a response?
Yes.
Because if you wouldn't watch certain things or look at certain things, it wouldn't have the kind of effect on you that you think.
Oh man, so true. So true. The violence, the lust, the any of that.
So this goes back again to a part of the social media. What are you setting in front of you?
Yes.
Well, if you would disconnect from some of that, that would help. That's a part of it that would help.
Absolutely.
That's the accountability part of it. That's very difficult to do.
So do you think with people, right now, so I'm getting from you, a lot of this social media is eating people up. It's tearing their lives apart.
Yeah. I mean, we have enough struggle as it is independently of certain things, and then you put an accelerant to it. What do you think is going to happen? It's tough. A lot of the content. So on my Facebook, I have to scroll past stuff quick because you have some of the the content that's popping up. For example, you being a man, the gym number one. That's a big one because of. And I don't want to disrespect the women, but a lot of the shorts, the short clips that are put on social media, well, what's being presented?
Man,
it leaves very little to the imagination. Is what I'm talking about.
It does.
And if you sit there and watch that enough time, okay, then comes the impulses and the desires. Yes. So back to it, pray about it.
Yes.
You got to go pray about it. Get that out.
Well, that's and Brandon, it's a when I'm in the gym, I'll be like this. If I ain't working out, I'm locked in. Man, because the ladies, they be knowing what they doing. They know what they doing.
There's a couple times I've had to go home.
You just left?
I had to go. I'm sitting there. I'm at a machine and I'm working on my chest.
Yep.
In front of me is the Smith machine, and you can do.
You're hurt.
You can do push-ups on the Smith machine, but the majority of the time it's squat. It's the squat section, and man, had a situation walked in front of me, and they were and I just had to go. I was like, yeah, I just got to go.
Just picked up the bag and left.
I was like, I got to go.
I might have to try that. See what
you don't fight temptation. You flee.
Yeah. So true. So true.
You flee. You run.
Dude, that's why I put my head up, Brandon.
I'm a person. I'm a man.
We're all safe space. Talk about it.
I know what I'm capable of if I don't walk away, or if I don't submit to God.
For sure. And those are those split second
absolutely
decisions.
So the man of God, he told me a story. He goes, one day I was walking on the sidewalk, and he said there was a beautiful woman that was walking in front of him, and he's having this conversation in his head, and he goes, man, she's beautiful. And he said something physically hit him.
Wow.
And he looked, and he said there was nobody there. And God spoke to him and said, why don't you tell me what you're thinking? Tell me your thoughts.
He was like, huh.
And I was like, I never thought about that. I never thought about when I'm having those thoughts in my mind to say, okay, God, this is what I'm thinking.
Because us as humans, the humility, the I don't want to say this.
Embarrassed.
Embarrassed, yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But see, that it's a good teaching.
So I'm working at Walgreens, and my goal, I was like, I wanted to memorize the entire book of Hebrews. So I memorized the first 3 chapters. I memorized it, could quote it verbatim. And so I'm sitting up there, doors open, this woman walks through, very beautiful, and I'm single, and I'm like, man, she's beautiful. I said it not loud enough for her to hear me, but I was like, man, she's beautiful. God spoke to me. He said, what is beauty? And he said, furthermore, he said, do you know who she is as a person?
Do you even know the substance
and
to
I
her?
was like, I don't know. And he said, right.
That ain't beauty.
He said, don't let the outside distract you from the mission, from what it is that you're trying to do.
Absolutely.
And so a wise woman of God told me, she said, patience is the weapon that forces deception to reveal itself. So when I was in those developmental stages of, I want to get married, how do I find the right one? Whenever I had conversations, I let time work.
You do. Patience
is the weapon that forces deception. Time in that will reveal the true motive.
Yes, it will.
Of why they're there.
Yes, it will.
And so I've avoided a lot of pitfalls by just waiting things out.
Talking, having conversation.
Yep. I'm not moving fast. I'm good.
Yeah.
I was at a point where I don't really need the relationship. I'm fine. I'm thriving. I'm thriving as a single, and I'm in no rush to move.
Man, and Brandon, that's why I'm single, Brandon. I'll tell you right now, I'm single.
Right.
We going out to dinner, we talking, having conversation. It was crazy to me because I was in a 6-year relationship. It was crazy to me when I got on the scene, though. Not gonna to be straight up. Coming out, I was like, okay, cool, here we go. Beautiful women everywhere, pretty girls, I should say, pretty girls. But then when you have those conversations, you get revealed what people really going
Yeah.
through.
What's the substance like?
What's the substance? Yeah, you can
Right.
post pretty pictures and videos and
Right.
stuff, but what's that substance? How do you treat your parents? How do you treat the waiter?
Right.
What are you saying? Are you making eye contact?
Right.
Are you worried about everybody else but us right now?
Right.
Things like that, man.
My wife. So I'm traveling. At the time, I'm not making a whole lot of money, but I'm making enough to where I can afford some JCPenney Stafford white dress shirts. You know, you can catch them on sale. You can
There we
get
go.
2 for $30. You know,
Hey.
and because of the kind of work that I was doing, my dress shirts would get I would get the ring around the collar. So I'm struggling trying to figure out how do I get my dress shirts clean. And my wife then, who was one of my very closest friends, she was like, she goes, I'm very good at doing laundry. She goes, I think I could help. I could fix that. I could solve that. So she took all of my dress shirts
Yes.
and she did my laundry.
Wow.
And she brought them back and they were better than anything I had done.
Okay.
So she solved a problem in my life.
Yes.
She filled a role and solved a problem that I couldn't. She brought something to the table more than just herself.
Yeah, just more than just the image.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow.
Ooh,
I was like, because up to that point, no other young lady that I had pursued did anything for my ministry, which is what I valued above everything else.
yes.
And so when she did something in that place, I was like, okay, all right.
You guys hear this? That's what you want in your life when you're dating. You hear what he's saying right here? Like, that's what you want. Everybody's feeling, why are you feeling so miserable, sad, dating scene is doom? It's because you're not having somebody in your life that's bringing something new to you. Anybody can fall into sex and stuff, but what is someone doing new for you? What are they teaching you? That's so true, Brandon.
Right.
So true. It's beautiful, man.
Yeah. And she never stopped. She kept doing it. And she would cook me meals, you know, when I would be on long trips to get back. She would do things like that. And it was like, okay, wow. I didn't tell you to do that. You paid attention to what I was doing and you showed that you value me.
Exactly. You're studying me. You care. That's what matters.
I was like, wow, okay.
I know you was. I know it made you.
Like, okay.
That's why she got that ring. Huh?
Absolutely. On my birthday, bought me a laptop. Wow. Okay. So you spent money on me. It's not that you're expecting me to spend money on you, but you're.
Man. I heard this story. Husband and wife. Wife went to her husband, wanted a comb. This new beauty comb, super expensive. Hubby was like, look, I got to get my watch fixed, so we're not going to have money. My favorite watch is broke. I got to get it fixed. We're just not going to have the money for the comb. I just heard this story. Wife was, okay. Have you heard this one?
No.
He went out to work. Then after work, went to the watch store. Ended up saying, how much money will you take for my watch? Store said, we X amount. He sold it and bought her the comb.
Wow.
Came home. She came out. She had the watch.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
Wow.
I heard that story and said, that's how it should be.
Yeah.
No expectations.
Right.
How can I serve my partner? How can I help?
Right.
With God at the center,
Yeah.
man. And see, a lot of people today, it's just lust. I'm like, you're not in love, you're in lust. You're lusting. There's no substance here.
Yeah.
And you're not working on you, kind of going back, young men, you're not working on yourself, trying to be the best version God intended for you. Ladies, same way. And then we put our trust into broken people. Well, newsflash, hurt people hurt people.
Right.
And we got to understand that.
Right.
And with this digital age, information's just going through so much, right, Brandon?
Right.
It's going through so much that we're just not even sitting back and just processing stuff.
We're afraid of the pause. We're afraid of just sitting and not doing things.
Gotcha.
I think the pandemic was a big eye opener for that, man.
Yeah.
How many marriages suffered because you didn't have all of the distractions there to distract you from fixing, whatever rift there is with that person.
Absolutely.
So now you have to live with yourself, with somebody else.
Wow.
And that's difficult.
Very.
So we've got a lot of distractions that we build into our normal life to keep us from having to look at ourselves in the mirror and face the reality that's there.
Wow. So true. Did church change a lot since COVID? Or did church hold it down?
I think church did change. I think it forced us to understand that that if we're going to be who God called us to be, that we can't just do that inside of a four-wall structure. That we're going to have to be daily in the house and in the temple. That's what the book of Acts talks about. The early church were daily in the temple and at home. It was both.
It was both. Okay, it wasn't just
not just what you do when you go to the temple. You can't compartmentalize God.
Absolute.
Man, I put in my 2-3 hours Sunday. I'm good, man.
Yep.
And then you go home and then you put your suit into the closet, your good shoes, and then you just kind of go on and just do what you want to do. No, it's gotta be consistency through and through.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Brandon, am I going to hell if I go to the club? Brandon, am I going to hell if I go to the club, Brandon?
If I'm talking to you as a friend, I'm asking you, what are you doing in the club? I'm not gonna throw you in the category of you're gonna go to hell. But I want to know, why are you going to the club? What are you looking for going to the club? If you're thinking you're gonna find a woman at the club, you're kidding yourself.
You're gonna find a girl, not a woman.
My thought is, if you're going to the club, you're going there for a quick fix.
Okay. What if it's not a woman? Just anything. It's a quick. Everything's a quick fix out there.
Depends on the environment that you're putting yourself into.
For sure. Do you think it's? Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
No. So I rather than saying you're gonna go to hell, why are you at the club, man?
For sure.
What you looking for?
For sure.
There's other things that you can spend your time in a better environment than being in the club.
Being in. There really is. There is.
If you listen to some of the OGs, I'm not, I'm in a faith base largely in that predominantly, but I hear snippets of things every now and then, like some of the OG rappers, they're not in the clubs. Too much bad stuff happening in clubs.
Absolutely. Do you think it's
they're at home?
At home with their family and loved ones, for sure. For sure.
So what you doing at the club?
What you doing, and what's the goal there? Like, what's the goal? What's the goal?
Right.
What cannot be fixed at home or fixed somewhere safer?
Right.
That the club will fix.
Right.
I think with that, but to people that do be out, do you think it's what they do out compared to being out? You feel what I'm saying? So you out there, but what are you doing?
Right.
What you think about that?
I don't know. I guess I'm trying to find what's the alert. What's the
Why even?
Yeah, what's the desire?
Gotcha.
What it is that you're going for.
For sure.
Yeah.
People ask me that. So.
They ask you why you're in the club?
And why I'm out. I said, damn, good question. I said,
okay,
man.
Accountability.
Yeah, exactly. It is. It's tough because I think now it brings to the subject the church going to the streets.
Right.
And it's like, how do people reach? I don't know if it's going to be the megaphone out there in front of the club talking, But how do we reach those people that unfortunately aren't going to the church? How do we get out to the streets and do that? You know what I mean? And you said something earlier, you're going to live it by action.
Right.
And I guess that's where I'm going to circle around with the whole club question, because I can see, I've been out and I've had some of the deepest conversations out. Sure, I'm not trying to make an excuse for it, but I know I've reached somebody that probably wouldn't have got reached if it wasn't that moment. So that's where me, at times I think about it. I don't be out much. I'm a low-key dude. Used to be out. But times I have, it's like I've had some of the most best conversations.
Right.
I've had it.
Right.
And so that's where I guess I want to ask you, how does the people of the church, I'm going to just say the people, God's people, reach the streets?
Just loving. So I got to preach for a great man of God a couple months ago, and he told me a story. He said he went to a leadership conference, and he said it was a small group of men. He said the pastor there that had the smallest congregation was about 10,000 people.
Wow.
And he said the guy told a story that he took over a church that was running about 500 people. And there was the previous pastor had this deal where they would pray against the local strip club. God, burn it down, shut it down, all of the kind of typical, prayers that, could be prayed against an establishment like that.
They're evil.
Right, absolutely. So when he came in, he said, what we're going to do is we're not going to pray against the strip club. But what we're going to do is I want some of the ladies, you're going to go down there at 3, 4 in the morning, and you're going to take a gift basket. And you're going to put all of these different things that these women need, and you're going to put it in that gift basket. And when they come out the door, you're going to give them the gift basket.
Wow.
And they did this for a number of years. What ended up happening was they loved those women so much that in loving them, it actually shut down the strip club. They won every one of those women.
Wow.
So the church has to love people. We have to show that we love.
Absolutely.
It's action. Love is not just what you say. Love is an action word.
Yes.
By this shall all men know that you're my disciples, in that you have love one, not for another, but love one to another. If I have love for you, it's there, but I'm not doing anything with it. I got love for Desmond, but what am I doing? Did I call you? Am I kicking it with you? When you're struggling, am I reaching out? When you do reach out, am I reciprocating? But if I have love to you, then that means I'm calling you up once every week. If I can, trying to fit it in once every week, being practical. Hey, brother, how you doing? Just,
Absolutely.
Call you up. Hey, I probably only got 15, 20 minutes, but I want to tap in. I want to see how you're doing. Do you need anything?
Man.
How you feeling?
Absolutely.
How's your family doing? There's a huge difference.
There's a huge difference to that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like we were talking earlier before recording. That's one thing about social media. People get satisfied with the post. Oh, he looks like he's good, or she looks like she good.
Right.
So you're saying with love, we need to go into those dark places. We need to shine, illuminate right there.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. Because right now, hey, people think they can judge, but people forget only God judges us in the end.
Right.
And we need to be out there putting action with that love.
Right.
I love that answer, Friday.
Yeah.
That's a great answer, man.
So
it's a great story.
Yeah. So, a friend of mine, so if you're a friend asking me about the club, I'm not going to judge you about it. I'm just going to, I want to understand what's your motive.
For sure.
What's drawing you there. And then we can work from there. We can talk about that, Yeah. If you're looking, if you're looking for a woman,
Oh, man, I don't know if I'm looking there.
If you're looking long term, if long term is what you're striving for, you got to change your environment.
You got to.
Yeah.
I agree. It's just no love in the club. Sorry, Usher got that one wrong. I said, hold on, wait. Mate. Oh my gosh.
Club. club. That's a good one. That's a good one.
I appreciate you, man. This is
I've never heard that. That's a good one.
Oh, I got
That's a
you.
good
I
one.
got
That's a good
I got
one.
you, brother. Oh man. That's good.
And then there's just certain places I just won't go, environments I won't put myself in just because I know that it's probably not the best.
Mm-hmm.
I won't do well in that environment. It'll bring something out of me that it's not going to be, once it's done, I'm not going to look back on it with a positive outlook.
Gotcha.
So accountability. I'm accountable to the vision that God gave me. And I'm not willing to compromise that just for a moment.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So I'm always thinking about long term.
For sure. It's needed. It is. Long term is needed.
Absolutely. It keeps you focused. It keeps you disciplined. Because if you don't have something that you're striving for, then man, you'll compromise in the moment.
So
You'll
true.
compromise.
You will.
So back to the discipline of eating, man. It's it's my long-term goal of getting myself in shape has to be greater than the moment of eating whatever it is in that moment.
Yes.
I've got to conquer that somewhere.
You know what I tell the people when I coach them, when I'm training? Think about summer. Think about summer.
Process. It's process. So I look at you. You're in great shape, at least from what I see on the outside. I don't know what inside how everything's going, but outside you look great.
Thank
but
you.
if I were to come to you and ask you for advice, you wouldn't tell me to praise you for where you are now. You would talk to me about process.
Absolutely.
Because process gives principle. Principles is what builds repetition,
Absolutely.
and it keeps you grounded.
Thank you. I love it. And that's what we do. I'm telling them every day. And then, summer. That's the long-term goal.
Absolutely.
Because I know people who I train, they want to be right for summer.
Right. I don't want to just be right for summer. I want to be right for a lifetime.
And then that's where I flip the card on them. I go, make this a habit. So now
Yes.
by the time summer comes, what we got? 5-6 months?
Right.
Hey, now don't lose it.
Right.
Keep using it.
Right.
The gym.
Absolutely.
Keep moving your body.
Right.
Keep going.
Right.
And I feel everything we're talking about is the same with prayer, the same
Yeah.
with faith, the
Yep.
same with learning the Bible, the same
Right.
with understanding the Spirit and
Right.
knowing what that can be done.
Right.
And what I love having this conversation with you is we can talk.
Absolutely.
We can talk because there's going to be a lot of people who don't go to church that listen to this. A lot of people that
Right.
may not believe, some that are on the fence.
Right.
And now they see Brandon is the human and how you're navigating everything.
Right.
And hopefully they can find their safe space and not be afraid to talk to God.
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot of brokenness out here, man.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I will say on this episode, God is the reason why I'm going where I'm going. God is going to be the reason I finish my mission. As long as I stay disciplined to his word,
Right.
we'll be good, man.
Right.
But God's at the center of it, period.
Right,
I
right.
ain't perfect.
Right.
I'm not. No one is.
Right. Don't abort the journey too quick. It would be one of the best advices I could ever give someone that's wanting to have a relationship with God, or you're in the initial stages. What I mean by that is this: most people have plan Bs. Well, if this church thing don't work out, if this God thing don't work out, then I'll just go do this.
Wow.
Well, God never had a plan B when it came to restoring us. Calvary was the only plan that God had in mind to get us back in right relationship with God. I don't have a plan B. There is no exit strategy if this don't work. This works. It works if you work it.
Got it.
You can't say, well, go exercising and eating right don't work. No, it works. You just have to work the principles of it.
Man.
If you stay in the flow, work the principle, and don't jump and bail ship when things get difficult,
Absolutely.
at the end result, you'll see, wow, this was worth it.
Yes.
But a lot of the times people bail ship too quick before God is finished writing the script. You go through trials and you go through life. Don't bail the ship with God. Let God finish writing the details.
Yes.
Man,
Yes.
so you don't have a testimony without going through the test.
Woo!
You don't have a message to preach unless you go through the mess.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've just been willing to stay in the grind, and I want to see what God's going to do.
For sure. That's the only difference.
I'm curious. I want to see. I want to know what is God going to do.
Yes.
Oh man.
Oh man, it's going to be.
I've gone through some rough patches.
So you told me about one of them, about getting sick.
When the pandemic hit, man, I kind of made some dumb decisions that I should have spent more time praying about, and we ended up getting, I got sick, and man, it really wrecked us, and
Wow.
Ended up racking up hospital bill that was like close to $20,000, something like that. Man. And God worked, and we got that completely forgiven.
Oh, the whole 20,000.
The whole deal completely forgiven. So I mean, I've had so many things happen like that in my earlier years. So I'll tell you this. We all coming to church, we pay tithes. It's kind of a part of the church culture that you're going to pay tithes. Well, back in high school, cafeteria food was atrocious.
Yes, it was.
The chicken nuggets we ate, we called them pus pockets. And,
that's crazy. Oh,
it wasn't the best food, but
sure.
They had the snack shack and places you could, we could go get, stuff. And I remember
I'd be at the Miller Mart.
at the Miller Mart. We go to Miller Mart, man. You get food. So I remember I had $10.
Okay.
And I went to church that Sunday, and I'm sitting there worshiping God. Give me that $10. I'm like, God. I'm having a full-blown conversation with God in the pew. I'm like, God, I can't give you the $10 because this is all I got for the week, and I don't want to eat cafeteria food. And God just would not leave me alone. Give me the $10. So eventually I walked up, put the $10 in the collection plate, and at the end of the service, one of the saints walked up to me and said, God told me to give you this, handed me a $20 bill. So God gave it back to me. He doubled it. So I was like, okay, all right. God was trying to teach me a principle.
Got it.
If you work the principle, I'll work with you. So I'm grinding, working these jobs, Dollar Tree, Walgreens. And we have we have a church conference in the summer. Family conference is what we call it. You have like over 500 people that'll show up to this conference. And
Gotcha.
I've got a very good friend of mine. He had a pharmacy tech job.
Oh, wow.
And he would give like $500, $1,000. And I'm like, God, I can't give you that kind of money right now. I want to, but I just don't have it.
For sure.
And I said, this is what I do. I said, God, I'll save up $1,000. And when I get $1,000, I'll give you $1,000. And so I made God that promise. And I think it was about 2 years later. Wow. I had saved up enough money.
Oh,
I got that Wells Fargo ping of $1,000
Oh,
was in my savings account. I was like, oh man, this is awesome. And that promise I made to God came back.
Oh,
and
no.
I was like,
he said, whoa. Whoa.
And I'm like, oh man, here we go. So went to Wells Fargo, had them cash me out the $1,000, and I gave the $1,000.
Did you do hundreds or 20s? Or?
No, they gave me a check.
They gave me a check.
Okay. And so I gave it to one of our youth-directed fundraisers. So I gave $1,000 to that. And so at the time, I'm driving a Chevy Corsica. Wow. And I don't know where I was at, but I get in the car and the bolts of the seat break. And my seat slides all the way back to the back of the car. I'm literally holding myself up with one hand on the driver door, and I'm driving with one hand. So I'm traveling to go preach like this, and I'm driving around with this car. So I go to Florence and I preach a revival for this church.
Okay.
And at the end of the revival, the pastor came to me and he said, "Hey, there's a saint in my church." And while she was praying, God spoke to her and told her that she needed to give you one of the cars that she has because that I was going to need it to evangelize in. God gave me a brand new car. I think it only had about 40,000 miles on it.
And you never met this lady.
And I never met her before. So God gave me a brand new car.
Wow.
So I drove that car until the transmission was about to go on it. So I'm getting ready to go preach for a friend of mine in Roseburg.
Yes.
Well, I have a friend that in Medford.
Okay.
So a spirit of giving moved in his church, and they had a couple there that owns a car dealership, and so they said, we want to give a new car to somebody, but we don't know who to give the car to. And unanimously, the church voted that they wanted to give me the car. I had no clue. So I drove down to the Roseburg church on Saturday, did not know that they were having a sectional prayer meeting. And my friend was there, and he tells me the story, and he hands me the key to a brand new Nissan car. They drove it down because they knew I was going to be preaching.
Jeez.
Brand new car. God did that for me twice.
Twice. That's amazing. That's amazing.
So I never doubted God with my finances after that. I never.
Yep.
I gave when it was time to give. I'm giving.
That's confirmation right
Absolutely.
there. That's confirmation.
Absolutely.
Straight confirmation.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
God has been so kind to me. So kind to me.
It's amazing.
I'm like, wow.
You're blessed, man. And you give it back. That's what I love about you too. You give it back.
Right.
I know Brandon Maddox, I could call him and what you need. You bring me fish, man. Come on, man.
Right.
That's amazing.
Right.
So thank you for that.
Oh,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being you. Thank you for what God's done and you listened.
Right.
It's amazing, man.
Right.
It's huge and people need to hear that.
Yep. There's a lot more. I'm excited for what more God's going to do.
There's more coming.
Oh yeah.
In the near future.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. You know this or you got faith with that?
No, I believe it's going to happen.
Absolutely.
I want to break
Same.
out of poverty. I don't want to live in a poverty mindset.
I was going to ask with this finances, how do we balance money and making sure we're not falling to the lust of money? Breaking out of the poverty, breaking out of that, but we know what money can do to people.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you have to have the right core.
Okay.
The core discipline of being connected to God to understand what to do with it.
Yes.
So, one of the things that God taught me was that Scripture says, "The blessings of the Lord maketh rich, addeth no sorrow with it." So we have to have the strong enough core to handle the weight of the blessing that God wants to give. If we don't, then we implode under the weight of it.
Gotcha.
And most of the time, we want more than what we can manage.
Man.
God will only give us what we can manage. And how you handle what God gives you determines whether or not he's going to give you more.
Got you. It's a test. You got to pass that test.
It's process.
What's that verse? You steward over little. Now I'll let you rule over much.
Absolutely. Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
I don't know the verse exactly, but
No, I know what you're talking about. Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Most of the time we idolize the people that got all this wealth and all this money.
Yes.
But I've learned that success comes and success goes. Success comes from many different sources and for many different reasons. I could be successful today and be broke tomorrow.
Yeah, ain't that the
but
truth?
my goal is not to be
there.
successful. I want to be blessed. Blessing only has one source. Blessing only comes from God.
Gotcha.
And once you're blessed, you're blessed.
That part. It's so true. And then the blessing is then you can give to others.
Absolutely.
You can help others.
Absolutely. Yep.
Help them build, help them whatever they need.
Yep.
Not just give them money. That's one thing I learned. You can't just feed someone money. You got to teach them to build.
Right.
Have community.
Right.
And that's what's huge. I think with this world today, we idolize people that they're not, and I love everybody. No, only God can judge, but we idolize all these people when really we need to ask ourselves, what are they doing for me?
Oh,
What have I learned
right,
from
right,
them?
right.
What did they pull me through? Or did they
Right.
give me a dopamine hit? Did they give
Right.
me a hit of this, a hit of that?
Right.
Some are real good at giving you multiple hits.
Right.
You're good for 6 months.
Right.
And then the other 6, I didn't get better. I didn't learn myself. It's what's
Or go this route. Go ask the person, what did they do to get to where they are? Ask them about the process of how did they get where they are.
for sure.
You want to have more money? How did they get there? What did you do?
Oh, yes. It's good. That's real good.
Most of the time, we don't do that.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
Somebody said it this way: the difference between rich people and poor people is this. They both have access to the same information, but the poor person looks at that information and says, I can't have it. Rich person says it was put there for me to use.
For sure. For sure.
Ask somebody. What's the worst they can say is they can say no.
That's
They don't want to tell you. Then go find somebody else.
Yeah, find the next one.
Absolutely.
Find the next one.
Yeah, if that's really your goal, you want to make a whole lot of money, go find it. Go find someone that can teach you, show you the process, how they got to where they are.
And that's huge, Brandon. That's so huge.
You don't got to be jealous of nobody else.
No. Oh, no. It's tough. How do we, because sometimes it seems like when us as people finding God and people walking with God, sometimes our journey is a lot longer than the ones that are not. How do you think about that sometimes? You see people who don't walk with God as much, or they might even be against him. Seems like on this earth, they're moving their trajectories just crazy fast.
Right.
Where us is a little more of a process.
Look at their end. What's the end? David said that. David talked about, I think it's in Psalm 78, where he said, man, I looked at the prosperity of the wicked. He's like, man, their struggles are not like my struggles. They got all of this stuff. And he's like, man, he was comparing himself to everything else. He said, until I went into the sanctuary of God, then I understood their end.
Wow.
So getting in the house of God, getting in the presence of God, then I could understand and see the bigger picture.
For sure.
So rather than getting stuck in the comparison, which is the thief of joy, he went in the presence of God, and God put it in perspective. That's their end. That's their goal. That's what they're going to get.
Got you.
That's all they're going to get.
Yeah. What they have right there.
Right.
And people forget with material things. Time don't stop for you. You're
Right.
going to get older.
Right. And the other part is you can't take it.
You can't take
You can't take it with you.
It's done.
Right. All the wealth that I accumulate, I can't take it with me. Even if you bury it, you put it with me in my coffin. It's not going to translate. It doesn't translate that way.
You can hold it right here in your
Right.
arms in the car. It ain't.
Right. Solomon talked about that. All is vanity. It's all empty. It's all vain. You know, the wealth that I accumulate today, once I die, it's going to go to somebody else.
Wow.
What did he say at the end of it? Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Let us fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. Solomon, the wisest man, had all of the riches and the wealth and all of this stuff. He said it's all vanity. It's all empty. It's all meaningless.
For sure. The grave is the richest place. That's one of our guests said.
The grave, yeah, man. The grave is full of dreams that never got birthed.
Yeah. So it's deep, P. It's deep.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy, man.
Yep.
That's crazy. I'll tell you, my dream came true having you on here, so I'm good.
Man,
I did.
I'm honored.
No, this been good. Now I gotta ask this one. What is with so you've been back working out and everything?
Yeah.
You been hooping? Have you hooped? I don't know,
No.
your jump shot looked kind of cool right there, but
I haven't. I don't have the same ambition for it.
got you.
I don't have the same drive for it.
Yeah. Not even just little jump shots at the nothing. I feel you, man.
It's strange because when we get in high school, in your freshman year, they give you a packet, and in the packet they ask you, when you graduate, what do you want to do? I remember I said I want to be an NBA player. Well, in the process of 4 years, a lot changes.
Yes.
You know, I had a relationship with God, and they'll give it back to you when you're a senior, and I got it back, and I said, I really put that down there.
That's crazy.
I want to be an NBA player. That was my drive and motivating factor.
Isn't that
now I don't care.
Yes.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't even watch basketball anymore.
I barely do. It's not the same anyway.
It's not the same.
It's just not.
I just don't have the same love and care for it.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I know it's a trip. I coach now, and I tell these young bucks, I go, look, this game right here, it's a message for you. Because honestly, not all of you are going, if anyone goes to NBA, it's going to be one of you probably. I said, but this is a message. There's something you're going to learn from here and apply to your life.
Yeah.
Which I have.
Yeah.
You know, I have applied. I thank God I played sports and new sports.
Right.
And, I apply some things to life. I don't think I'll be good at things as what I would have been without it.
Right.
And so that's always huge. But
I regret not. I had a relationship in high scholl that I let get in the way. I should have played on the school team.
I always wondered that, Brandon. I always wondered that. I was like, why isn't this guy on the team?
Bro, girl chasing a girl.
Man.
And it just I kick myself, man, because I'm like, that I would have learned a lot.
Right.
And I would have had some experiences that I could look back. I wanted a Letterman jacket. I wanted one of those jackets to commemorate committing to something, and I don't have that. I don't have that memory.
Brandon, I thank her right there. I thank Mama. My senior year, I was going to leave. I was like, I don't want to play, and she's like, trust me, hold on to it.
Yeah.
Just keep it.
Yeah.
And she might have not even known why.
Right.
But I do. I look back and I'm like, thank you.
Absolutely.
Because, you're saying this. I learned from that.
Right.
I was like, man, I'm glad I stuck it out. Even though it wasn't the best season, none of that, I learned so much, man.
Right.
So it was huge.
If I could go back, I'd do that differently.
For sure.
I'd do it.
I would have just been single all through high school.
Yeah,
I would have been single.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, how often do you marry your high school sweetheart? That's not always the narrative. It's not always the case.
Heck no.
9 times out of 10, your feelings are going to change, and and so if I could go back, man, I'd do that differently.
For sure.
But again, I had too much freedom, made choices, so.
Understood.
Wasted talent. Waste of talent. I had the talent and didn't do a whole lot with it.
Hey, you was cool in basketball class, though. Basketball class, I was like, shoot.
Because, I even had the basketball coach a couple times. Bro, why don't you need to come try out. Come to tryouts. You need to come. Be on the team. I want you on the team.
Man.
And it was just
no. Did you try out? Like, would you ever go to the
I did try out.
Okay.
I made it my freshman year, but I didn't come back.
Oh, man. You was one of them. You was one of them.
Bro, if that tells you just how bad off I was as a freshman, I made the team, went through the trials, made the team. I didn't come back.
Dang it, Brandon.
Didn't come back.
I know they were sick about that too. They were like, we needed him, but it happens. It happens.
All that hard work that I put in for nothing. Mm-hmm. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
So for me, all the times people are like, man, you were great playing ball, and yeah, but I didn't do nothing with it.
Didn't even use it.
I didn't even use it.
Right.
I got caught up, just chasing a girl.
But hey, at least you could use that energy and put it to your life now and be like, I need to use what I got. I needed to use my gift now.
I really wanted to see if I could have made it to college. I really wonder if I could have. It's a thought that plays in my mind. Well, could I have done it?
Right.
Even if it was just like a local community college, could I have done that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Happens, man.
Yeah.
Happens. Sheesh, yeah. Maybe don't pick up the ball. You might be like, look, I still can run it.
Man, that's one of the things I have to play out on 2K. Just create my character,
G League, you got me.
Absolutely.
I'd be like, Brandon, look, bro, I think we good.
All of those sprints and free throws and jump shot routines I did in the summer.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I didn't. I should have conditioned myself better. I didn't.
Man. It's conditioning, man, I tell you.
Yep.
Brandon, with that on far as us being good, I know politics is a lot.
Oh Lord. Yeah.
Is there politics in church?
There's politics in everything.
Yeah, there is.
There's politics in church. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
How you know more than me? Speak to me on that. How you guys navigate that? Like, because that's one thing with church is humanity's in it. God's the ruler of the temple, but us as people are in it. Of course, we're going to have human thoughts and politics. How do you navigate it? What do you think about that?
If you have to understand what it is that you're involved in. I understand what is going on. So it helps me to not make rash judgments about things that maybe someone else that don't know enough could sit there and go, well, I don't understand why they do that. It doesn't make sense, blah, blah, blah. But until you've served in certain positions and gone through certain things, it gives you a different perspective. So I've served enough in certain positions where I understand the mechanics of certain things.
Gotcha.
So I tend to give people a little bit more grace about certain things, not all things. When it comes to how you treat people, that's a whole different ball of wax. But yeah, there's politics.
For sure.
I stay close to God. I stay close to God.
Isn't that frustrating? Like, we're all here to worship and serve. How are you going to bring politics into this? Like, isn't that frustrating at times?
Well, I guess it depends on what type of politics that they're bringing. That is the focal point.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of tough to answer that question. It depends on what someone is talking about when you talk about politics within church. Is there a structure? Absolutely. There's a structure, much like a Fortune 500 company. There's a structure to it.
Right.
There's a method to keeping things in order and keeping movement and things flowing. Absolutely.
What about when it's challenged though within? Like, is that structure ever challenged by somebody and someone's like, this person shouldn't be here or this person shouldn't be doing this part of it?
That's tough.
That's a tough one. Because I've heard stories where there's like, this person shouldn't be the pastor or this person shouldn't. Yeah.
I don't. I try to stay out of that aspect of it.
For sure.
Because if God calls a man, who am I to say that they don't deserve to be there?
Exactly.
Now it's because it's one thing to be called to do something, but it's another thing for you to have developed yourself to be worthy of that.
Absolutely.
So I think that could be the disconnect. Maybe, God probably called them, but maybe that person didn't develop themselves to have better people skills, to be able to communicate, to know how to care for people. That part is on that person. God called me to be an evangelist. So I have to do the work so that I'm qualified to stay in that position.
Absolutely.
So I have to put in the time to. So a man of God told me years ago, you need to know more about a subject than the elder saint in that church that's been in that church for 30, 40 plus years.
Wow. And why is that?
It gives me credibility that I've put in the time.
For sure.
So for example, a classic story of David and Goliath. Most people would not know that Goliath was actually a king.
Oh, I didn't.
So just things like that, understanding, doing the research enough to go back and look at the backdrop of the story, understanding cities and the land and all of this stuff, all of that matters. It makes a difference.
Yes,
So
it does.
I have to be qualified not just on the level of what I know from a biblical context, but also what am I hearing from God. So it's connecting the word and bringing application together, that marrying both of them.
And that's super important because in this world today, people are forgetting qualifications. People are forgetting people that put in the work. They're going off feelings. And that's why I bring up this question, because right now we're in a world where people just can feel that a certain person should be there. No, if I'm getting in the plane, I need to know my pilot, the captain, Brandon Maddox, is qualified to fly the plane.
Right.
I need to know you going to take me and my family safely to here.
Right.
And you're going to be very responsible.
Right.
That's what it is. And that's why I asked that question. Same with you ministering and preaching. You're putting the work in. You have the substance. You have experiences that were just so hard on you as a kid. You can speak and you know this.
Right.
And that's what's so tough in this world.
Yeah. But when it comes to, I don't touch that part of it. I pray. If anything, if I feel that way about something, I'll pray about it.
For sure. For sure.
And I'll trust God with the details of it.
Absolutely.
Because, I don't know what it's like. Or I'll say it this way. I know what it's like to be in a position and give my all and not feel qualified.
Oof.
And even though I put in a lot of time, but still feeling like I'm not making a difference, or I'm not having the effect or the momentum that I'm hoping, but I'm still grinding it out.
Absolutely.
So I understand that aspect of it.
Yes.
So that's why I tend not to speak on it on that perspective, because I understand both sides of it.
For sure. No, it's always a curiosity of mine. I'm just like, man.
I was a youth pastor for a long time, and I put a lot into it, but I didn't feel like I was qualified. I didn't feel like I had the kind of impact that I wanted to.
Do you think you were dealing with some imposter syndrome?
What do you mean?
So imposter syndrome is pretty much just thinking you don't have what it takes, even though you're doing it all. You're taking care of it, but you're like, who am I to be this position?
Yeah, there could be some of that. Absolutely, that was a part of it. Yeah, I could definitely see some of that being in the picture of it.
For sure.
But it's tough, man, when you're put in a position and you're trying to affect change. It's easy to look at someone and go, man, well, they should be doing this. They should be doing, until you're in that position and you're like, oh, this is a lot different than I thought.
Exactly. There's a lot to this.
Oh, absolutely.
I got to go to this person. I got to talk to that person. I got to, oh my gosh.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's easy to be critical when you're not the one in charge.
Thank you. So true.
Yep.
So true. People are so quick to point a finger. Blame game.
Yep.
Blame game.
Until they're in the driver's seat and they're like, give me grace. And you're like, no, but you weren't having grace when you were.
Oh, that's it, mate. That is it right there, I tell you. Man, Brandon, I appreciate you, mate. Well, hey, we're getting towards the end of our podcast. I want to know something. What is 2 or 3 of your favorite Bible verses? And will you quote them to us? What's 2 or 3 of your go-to ones? I won't say favorite, because I know you love the whole book, but
I don't know if I have favorite verses. That's tough.
Drop 2, how you feeling right now? What's 2 that you just helping your life right now?
I'm more of a story guy.
You're a story. Okay. Okay.
So right now, I'll do this. I'll give you two Bible stories that helped me the most.
For sure.
So I just preached a message about there's a prophecy in your valley. Story of Ezekiel chapter 1, where where they're captives. Nebuchadnezzar pulled them out of, he took the best of Jerusalem, burned and wiped out the entire city, brought the best of the people from Israel to Babylon.
Gotcha.
And Ezekiel is a priest, and him being a priest, God starts transitioning him from a priest to a prophet.
Wow.
And so he, they're in the middle of captivity. And everyone is giving up. Everyone is hopeless. Their perspective of God is that God only works in Israel. They have no context to understand that God works outside of the nation of Israel. So God is trying to take a priest and turn him into a prophet and showing him that I work wherever your faith is active. And so they're in the middle of captivity. Everyone else is giving up hope. Ezekiel looks up and the Bible says, and the heavens are opened. And it's like, no, I didn't know this was here. And what God was telling me was that he said, if you don't learn how to detach yourself from what you're going through, you will see life and you will see me through the lens of your trial. But if you detach yourself from what you're going through and trust me in the process, I'll give you the perspective to look up and let you understand that the heavens are open and that I'm working and that I'm moving in the situation.
No matter what you're going through.
No matter what you're going
with
through.
you. I'm there. Gotcha.
Yep. We have a tendency, man, to get sucked into what we're going through. And it's hard to see beyond that. And we become what we go through. We talk about it.
Gotcha.
And our speech is an indicator of what we believe.
For sure.
And we're going through tough times and we'll make irrational comments. Oh, God doesn't love me or God's abandoned me. Who told you that? God didn't tell you that.
Yeah.
You made a decision. You had some thoughts, and you believed them. But God's been working the whole entire time.
Yeah, because when we're going through things, I feel like things get real narrow, and we forget to look and do that. Yeah. How do you, real quick, Brandon? I know you got a second piece, but
no, you're fine.
How do you feel with people with other religions or people with other beliefs, or if they're just spiritual but they don't commit to Christianity? How do you view on that or look at that?
I don't know. I don't tend to focus on it too much.
Okay, fair.
Yeah,
fair.
I don't.
If they're a good person, hey, let's have coffee. Let's keep it moving.
Yeah,
you don't.
Yeah. I don't tend to wander too much into that.
That's good.
Because it'll create tension and division, and I'm not trying to go down that road.
Yeah.
And
especially if they're a good person too.
Right. So I mean, I've got a mission and a goal that I'm trying to accomplish, and I'll stay in that lane, yeah.
Man.
So
for sure. Oh yeah, that second piece.
I like the story of David.
I was gonna say that.
I like
That's
the story
crazy.
of David.
I was gonna say that
David was the product of his dad's failure. He was the black sheep of the family. Right. David would pen the iconic words. He would say that he said I was born in sin and shapen in iniquity, and he said in sin did my mother conceive me. And so that's an allusion to the fact that David's father had an illegitimate relationship with a woman, and David was the product of that relationship with that woman. And so to not deal with the mistake that David's father made, he put David on the backside of the hill. And so when Samuel the prophet comes and says, hey, God is looking for a new king, he says, I want you to bring all your sons. He brings all the sons except for David.
Oh, he didn't even bring him.
He didn't even bring David. He didn't, because in his mind, David was a product of a mistake. So how could God anoint a mistake and make a mistake the king? And so he said, and so after Samuel looks at all the sons and he says, look, they're tall and they're muscular, but God didn't choose any of these. He said, do you have a son? He said, yeah, there remaineth yet the youngest, and he keepeth the sheep. What that meant was, what David's father meant was, in that time, the father determined the occupation of the sons. So whatever the father assigned his sons to do, that's what their job their future job was going to do. So when he looked at David, David's tending the sheep. That's his job. That's who he's going to be. He's going to be a shepherd. But God said, no, I'm going to take a shepherd and make him a king.
Wow.
And so it's hope to me that God can rewrite your story.
Your story.
No
matter
matter what people have said about you, God can write something different. God can give you a completely different narrative.
Yeah, you could be the janitor right now. You could be working at the fast food joint, whatever it is.
Right.
He can turn it around just like that.
Absolutely.
Turn it around. That
Absolutely.
David story is so key. What, 14 years out there too?
He spent a lot of time on the backside of that mountain.
It was a lot of time with those
He
sheep.
was only 12 years old.
Man.
God got a hold of him at 12 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
And turned his whole life around.
Turned his life around.
And see, that's what's amazing. I love that story all the time, man. That
Yep.
story right there.
Absolutely.
It gives all of us hope.
Yep.
It really is.
Yep.
Well, B, we're closing out, man. One thing I need you to do, you gotta let the world know what your social media handles real quick. You need to drop those
Right.
so people can find you, look you up, see
Right.
your pages. So drop those real quick to us on the mic. Let them know, and we'll wrap this up, man.
Absolutely. So you can find me on real_Reverend on my Instagram and on my YouTube. And man, I post content, fishing and I do men stuff. One of my biggest goals, I want to do stuff for men. I want to help men. So I'm working on that, and
For sure.
yeah, that's where you can find me.
Got you.
Yes.
That's amazing. He's helping men. So any young man, any man that needs some help, needs some guidance, you can reach out to us. Garage Talks 5417 is a safe space. But check out Brandon Maddox. It's a great guy. And Brandon, thank you for coming into
Absolutely.
this safe space, man.
It was an honor to get to be with you, my friend.
Hey, always. Blessings,
Absolutely.
man. And Merry Christmas, dude.
Likewise, man.
Thank
Likewise,
you.
brother.
All right. All I want is some salmon.
Absolutely. I can do that.
Okay.
I can do
sounds
that.
good. Sounds good. Love you,
Do that.
brother.
Love you too,
man.
brother.
Thank you.
Absolutely, man.
And that's what you got, world. We love you guys. Merry Christmas. Go ahead and bless up. Have a great time. Hug your loved ones. Spend time with
Yes.
your loved ones because
Yes.
your presence is the ultimate present. Bless up, y'all. Ooh-wee. Oh, man. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
That was powerful. That was powerful. But you were so nice, so I was like, man. I'll be trying to get people.
But
in
you
there.
were faster than me.
Man, yeah.
So
That was quick.
I enjoy the challenge
Right.
of playing someone that's better because it forces you to adapt.
Absolute.
If you always play against people that are at your level or lower, sometimes you don't excellence doesn't come out.
Oh, for sure. You just know. It's like, I can beat them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then, like you said, you
Yep.
drop your game, and next thing you know, they sneak up on you.
Yep.
And that's it right